something changed inside of me. The inner human slowly dead in me. I feel it come alive. The darkness brings me light. There ain't no stopping it, and you will never hide from me. Pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night, ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast. Hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. I'm still inside. I'm still here. What have I done? When did this all start? I have become a monster in the dark. A hunger like no other. Running on instinct. What's this creature? Always inside of me. The pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night, ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast. Hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. You better hope so too. You better hope so too.
The blackest of hearts, the vilest of thoughts, watching your every move. I'm obsessed with you. Twisted thoughts erupting and slowly decaying. My jealousy, my envy is tearing me apart. A wicked man and his wicked deeds.
Masquerading as a child
A
of light.
monster with his cruel needs.
Envy he cannot
As he
fight.
dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
Slithering around the murky green swamp. Voodoo priests enchanting the dance. Making deals in the dark. The laughing spirits and all that they haunt. A wicked man and his wicked deeds.
Masquerading as a child
A
of light.
monster with his cruel needs.
Envy he cannot
As he
fight.
dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
A foul smell in the air, oceans fill my lair, deception lurking and waiting, with envy in my eye. My spirits ascend to spy. Voodoo is the ritual, odor fills the room, smoke-stained walls, and the energy is gloom. A wicked man and his wicked deeds,
Masquerading as a child
a
of light.
monster with his cruel needs,
Envy
as he
cannot fight.
dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
Twisting the truth, for there is none in me. Weaving dark magic all through the night. Tears of envy, my jealousy ignites. Darkness encasing alive in the night. My lying tongue grows fatter with every deceitful breath. My soul is rotting and it tastes like death. A wicked man and his wicked deeds,
Masquerading as a child
a
of light.
monster with his cruel needs,
Envy cannot
as he
fight.
dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
The cloaked deceit, this is my life, I'm doomed to repeat. A treacherous heart, envy growing in me. I wish I was you, with everything that I do. A wicked man and his wicked deeds,
Masquerading as a child
a
of light.
monster with his cruel needs,
Envy cannot
as he
fight.
dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
Reaching out to the filthiest of scum, wishing I was him, not the man I become. The sickness in me, I'm a lunatic disease. Traitors and manipulators, part of my flock. We twist the truth and dance in the dark. The flames of hell are licking my feet.
Good will prevail. You will all fail.
All right. Go this way a little bit. All right. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable, PRT. Join us in the real reality. A lot of people don't live in the reality. Here's the funny thing about that is some people don't even live in the fake. They don't even live in the fake reality.
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps. I guess is what we're doing, because I had some people messaging me today with some dummy stuff, stupid things. I had real things to do, man. I'm like, y'all people don't have you don't even live in the faux reality that they've created for y'all. It's bad, boy. It's really bad. Anyways, we'll be all right. We'll make it. We will. I don't know if these people will.
I don't know, man. Because I try to like watch stuff to escape reality, you know, just get a little break from it. But these people are fully invested in it.
they stayed when the movie was over. They were like, "Is this a double feature?" They just we went home. We're like, "Oh, that was a good movie. It was a good fictional story." Let's do reality now. And they're like, "No, we're good."
It's nothing worse than seeing anime hair in real life, and you're like, "Oh my goodness!"
They stayed in Mars Attacks Land or whatever. It's okay. Put this to the middle for you guys so you don't cover up Tony. Yeah. I know you hate him and you want to cover him up, but still.
It's jealousy.
Mm-hmm. It's that song we just played, The Envy.
Yeah.
It's got a hold of Anthony.
Well, that's what Nelly was telling me. She was like, I just kind of was looking at Anthony and all these words came up and this song came about. And I was like, that's so crazy.
You know what? Why don't I just leave the chat like right on your face like it is right now?
Well, it'd probably help you. You need all of it.
It probably helped the viewers, but to not look at your uncombed hair. Look at that.
You got the broccoli head.
I've already told you, like, I have to put myself down to make you look up. It's like a balancing act.
He's doing the favor for you.
I disagree.
He's so hateful about it. That's the worst part.
I know.
He's ungrateful.
I'm not being hateful. I respectfully disagree, Tony.
He respectfully puts the chat on my face to cover it up.
Why are you being so
because
mean
he's
to me,
so
Tony?
jealous.
Tony, I love you.
Then when I explain my reasonings, he gets.
I love everyone. I don't know why I'm being demonized as a mean guy here.
As a person, as a good Christian boy, I try my best here, and sometimes the devil just attacks this young man.
See,
I try.
You see,
to take him and bring him to the light, do God's will.
You just try to.
I know.
Just try to mess up my hair
too.
To make my hair look like yours.
I saw that. I'll give you that.
Well,
he's trying to mess up your hair so he could look better with his broccoli.
Honestly, I was going to, but I forget he puts product in his hair, so I didn't want to. Like my hand kind of got
jealous
stuck,
of this
so
pomade, slicked.
Nobody needs to put product in their hair like Scorpion.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
Scorpion go outside with the cowlick that's like going in like this way and then one going this way, and you're like, what is it? Somebody just slapped the back of your head, boy.
I think I literally saw it, like his hair spell out the word messy.
And then he wears a hat just to hide it. You just don't even take your hat off. Just leave it on.
Well, it's annoying when he goes and asks for like a haircut. I'm like, don't you just shave it bald? You get a buzz cut.
He don't comb it anyway. Honestly, I don't think Scorpio owns a comb.
He does because I know exactly because I don't use his comb.
Okay, Pigpen. Okay, because we used to call him Pigpen. That was his nickname. Scorpio over there like mad right now. Maybe make you do your job. Get mad. It's hot in here. Hot up in here. Up in here. I don't use product in my hair. Somebody asked me that the other day. I said, why? Does it look like I put crap in my hair? I don't. I don't need to. It's getting long. I'm going to get a haircut to today's Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Today's Wednesday. It's the end of the month. Oh my gosh, dude. What in the heck? Where did April go?
It feels like Thursday to me.
Oh, April went by fast.
Fast. Too fast. Can you put me so I can see the chat here?
Oh yeah.
Kez McIntyre, thank you for that, man. Appreciate that, brother. Yeah, and bless everybody who's donated and helped this month and is helping us. We really appreciate it, man. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a rough month and it's gonna get rougher next month. We have a lot going on. Folks, pray for us, please. We're so close to getting some stuff done. And I hate saying unspoken prayer, so I'm gonna tell you what it is. I need the insurance company to move their butts so that I can get help for something that may or may not be serious. So we need to go, and I'm sick of their bullcrap. And I'm never going to say that it's okay for what Mangione did to the insurance company, but I can see why people would get frustrated, and because they will let you die. They will absolutely let you die. And then we're also. I'm not even going to lie to you, folks. We are in a serious money crunch here, dude. And so we may have to cut some of the shows down. We're going to try and maybe make a decision middle of May whether we're going to cut a couple days off because we make a lot more money doing our jobs than we do this. And so It takes a lot of money to have Tony up here and Anthony up here and me up here. It does. And so we have to have people to work for us, and we have to pay them. And that's a lot of money per hour that we're losing. It's a lot.
Yeah, because we could all be like on 12-hour shifts right now.
It is a lot of money. So we did the math, and what we came up to, it was like, I think almost $750, almost $800. It was paying somebody would give us, it would be, so it's almost, let's see, what was it? It was almost $900, right? $900 on an average day. So it's costing us like $900 for all three of us to be here because somebody else has to work. And people don't want to just go. And I had somebody tell me, well, you could just pay someone to go work for you for a few. Who wants to do that? Nobody wants to go and sit a post for 3 hours and then go back home.
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes you can get people to do that, but that's not what people want to do. So it really sucks. You end up having to pay somebody almost. So we are losing money month over month over month. We're hoping to eventually start to where it levels off, but it's been years now. And yeah, I know that some people have been able to devote their life to doing this. Like 3 or 4 content creators that we're really close to and friends with, they have done that. And, I had a talk with a couple of them, recently, and they were just like, you're going to have to make a decision, if you're going to, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. But right now is not the time for that decision. I cannot afford to not have my business. I have to, because the business literally makes 11 times more money per day than the show. And that's not counting how much I have to pay if I have an extra person up here, like with Tony's here, So we want to have this continuity. We want to have whatever. And, it's just, and I don't want to have to point out my whatever I got to do. And so I'm holding on to my gold right now, but I might eventually have to sell more. I've sold some because we're waiting to see what the market's going to do. Because if you have gold, I'm going to tell you this right now. Everybody's asking me what to do. Should you buy, sell? So you're not going to want to buy right now. It's too expensive. But if you have it, and you want to take advantage of what's happening now, you can sell a little, but I would hang on to it because by the end of the year, it could be 4,000. And then you're going to be kicking yourself because you sold. See? And so there's a method to the madness. There's a reason. Nothing is just completely just by chance with me or random. Okay? Except for Nellie's random files. That's the only randomness in my life. I don't leave things to chance. I have control in that, of my life. But ultimately, do we? Because it's really up to God. If he decides that I have, it's time for me to go, it's time for me to go. And I'm not going to fight and cry and don't buy gold right now, Rebecca. It's too expensive.
Oh, no.
You'll be, and then there's no chance, there's no way to know if by the end of the year you're going to hit 4,000. It could. But if you try to buy it right now and then the market settles down and everybody figures out that the tariff thing, what's going on with it. Oh boy, I need to do an episode just about economics, and I could do that on Rumble because I could say all the shit I need to say about all the people I need to say it about, because there's people that are doing what they're doing to destroy everything. But yeah. Sailor says I'm going painting. You might need to. But gold is worth a whole lot right now. The problem is that when you put it into jewelry form, there's something to this. Okay. And I don't want to say it on here. But there is something to it. This isn't just for fun and games. There's a reason for it. And if I explained it to you, you would be like, oh, okay. You would get it. But when you have to melt it down, depending on 10, 14, 18, or 24 karat, 24 being 999, you lose some gold in the process, in the smelting process. So you some of it disappears. So, you can melt it down, you can keep it, and you can turn it into whatever it is you need to turn it into. But like I said, you're going to lose a little bit, whatever. And so there's a lot of money that's being lost in the process of melting it down and repurposing it. Hold on one second, folks. What?
Tony and Mushu trying to strap a mattress to y'all's back. It's just the Tony and Mushu part that annoys me.
Damn, Brittany, that's hardcore. Walking down Main Street. So this person says there's still sugar, not corn syrup. Where did you see this at? And if you have my information on Facebook, send me a picture of the bottle, because the ones we got served at a Pollo Rio, they were absolutely corn syrup. Now, they can say that it's sugar, but that doesn't mean that it's cane sugar. It has to actually say cane sugar on there.
Yeah, that's the last one used.
Yeah, because if they just say sugar, it might as well be corn syrup, because it's refined sugar. It's pretty bad. So some people they trick you too. They're like, it's made with real sugar. Yeah, real refined sugar.
Yeah.
It's really, really refined. So tonight we're going to premiere a song that Nelly has made, and it is really cool. So if you're a fan of Alice in Wonderland, she made a song about it. It's actually really good, and I just heard it for a couple of days ago, and I was like, holy crap. Really good stuff. So that's happening tonight. We're going to premiere that. The last album was basically just and I put a name to it. I called it Monsters, because that's all it was just an album of monsters. This album is a little different, and you probably don't even notice that they're different albums. The last one had 10 songs.
Yeah,
it was like a 10-song album, and you can go and listen to it and play it. It's on Paranormal Soundtable. Put the link up there to Paranormal Soundtable, folks, so you can go and listen to those songs. And then she's made one about Krampus. What else? There's a Frankenstein's Monster song, which should have been on the Monsters album, but she's a perfectionist. She wanted it to be correct. And then what else did we do? I say we like I did it. You're like, what else did I do? Let me take credit for this. There was something else that she made recently. There was a song that she made. Do we have that one about love and caring for somebody or whatever? And that's really good. If not, see if she'll send it to you. Huh?
The Thief.
The Thief was just her talking. That was not a song. That's why it shows me you didn't even listen to it, Tony.
I didn't listen to The Thief.
That was for Easter.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, we know. You and Scorpio, y'all are the non-participants. But so that's what's going on. We got some people in here. We got 306 in here. Okay, so here's what's happening. We got three stories for you tonight. 3 stories, if you want to call them that. Now, Mark, great conversation. Wish we could have talked longer. Didn't have a lot of time, but you did lay it out there, dude. That was incredible. Donnie, your story will be up tonight, so there's that. And then Luca, I appreciate. He's from Poland, and I mean, he's not technically. His dad is from Poland, but epic story about your dad. I thought it was his grandfather or his but it wasn't. It was his dad. I had to go back and flesh that out. So Luca's story of his dad and what happened to him in Poland, pretty scary. And his grandfather actually kept a diary, which is pretty neat. So he's going to send me some screenshots from that diary. He's already sent me a couple, which kind of back up what his, and you could see it was written like his really strong cursive, and it's all in Polish. I can't read it. I don't read Polish and I don't speak it. It's not one of the languages I speak. But pretty interesting stuff. Really cool that he had, like, his grandfather had talked about these things. So, like the title is, there's going to be people coming in tonight, I'm sure, because we're talking about werewolves and reptoids, reptilians. So let's take a vote, folks. Who wants to hear a story about a werewolf in San Antonio, in town? Terrifying story. I'm going to say it like this: if you're a scary person, like I get scared easy, whatever. Yes, we are on Spotify, Oregon, but we only do one show a week on there, and it's just a podcast episode. It's the original show. So if you want to hear this story or the one from Poland, which is a little more fleshed out, I think, but it's pretty scary. I mean, yeah, it's really scary. Actually, it's disturbing. Or do you want to hear some scary stuff about reptilians? Reptilians pretending to be human that aren't really, and then kind of revealing themselves. Pretty scary stuff. These are all pretty scary. But in order to get started, I need at least $200, folks. I need $200. I got to pay my bills. Come on, man. I got to pay the rent and the mortgage. Come on, guys. I need it. Let's go. I need it. You're like, this guy looks like he's on coke.
You just need a one-time.
No, man. I just got some bills to pay, man. It's all, just come to my house and be like, oh, you know what? You can't live here for free. I'm just like,
I need it, man. I gotta go do something.
I gotta do something, man.
I gotta go do something.
This guy, he's like, he come to my house. It's like, knocking on the door. I crawled up to the door. I was like, what do you want, man? He started trying to tell me I owed him money. So I owe him $100. I told him I'll pay you on payday, man. Payday's on Friday. And then he said, this is Monday. I'm like, oh, well, I'll talk about next Friday in June. I'll pay you. And then he walks off, and I'm like, yeah, you better leave. Bitch ass, man, you better leave. Man, I'm joking, folks. I'm not jonesing for it. I'm kidding. I'm joking around, dude. I know everybody probably broke at the end of the month. But I got bills to pay. I got mouths to feed. All right, guys. So JJ, he gave me $20. He says the Poland story. We got $20 on the Poland story. Going once, going twice, going twice. Zara says, I got 5 on Poland, please. Poland's like Poland. We got Poland. We got $30 going on Poland. We got $30 on Poland. What do we got here? Do we got anything on the reptilians? We got anything on the reptilians of Albuquerque? Anybody in San Antonio? Werewolves? We got Albuquerque. Reptilians.
Going once.
Going twice. Anybody for the Poland winner? They don't throw any more on the Poland. We got the Poland going on. Sold. Poland story it is.
For the man in the 10-gallon hat.
If you wanted the reptilian story, you write out, folks. If you wanted the San Antonio story, you write out. We had $30 on the Poland story. There we go, folks. That's how you do it. Poland and Christ the King says Poland and reptilians. Man, no, you did not give us the ducats went to the Poland story.
All right, we're gonna need everyone besides Paula and JJ to leave. They're the only ones that can hear the story.
Yeah. Go on now, get.
Go on, Ed. The Texarcist has spoken. Go on, get.
Scram.
Get up out that body, you evil demons. You dirty demons, get up out of there. All right. So anyway, here's the Polish story. This one, I was hoping to start off with the actually my choice was the San Antonio story because I had just talked to that guy. So Mark, just hang tight. I got Luca's story. Money talks, bro. Money talks. Sorry, man. $30 on it, man. So here it is. So this guy reached out to me a while ago. It's been a while, and I didn't realize how long until we did the story about the Polish. Do you guys think back? I know we go back sometimes. The story we did, or let's say story, because it's not really a story. It's the encounters that guy from the military. He was in the military in Poland.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. This guy was in the military in Poland, and Amy Krill just threw some more on there. Polish story fun. Thank you. But you remember that, guys. Tell me in the audience if you remember this, because if enough people say that they remember it, then I don't need to go back and try to refresh your memory because I can save my voice. So if anybody remembers that, Harpin Blues does. Good man. He's always paying attention. I don't know if anybody's saying that they remember it. Nobody's saying they remember it. That dude did
Someone
hella
else did.
digging.
Stanfield said he remembers.
Okay.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Stanfield remembers. So did Hoppin' Blues.
Remember?
Wedge, he pays attention. He said
Wedge
he did.
Antilles remembers.
I remember.
I remember. Okay. So we got a few people that remember this. Somebody says kind of remember. Well, okay. So let me refresh it then. All right. So what it was is a guy was talking about in Poland, they had this, these military bases. And we even pinpointed one of the military bases that was close to this, but this was a defunct facility in Poland that was once used by the Soviet military. And in fact, it wasn't just them. It was because it was the Eastern Bloc.
Mm-hmm.
Let me explain to you do you know who the Eastern Bloc is?
Yeah, it was the set of Eastern European countries that
Okay,
fell under
who
the
are
Iron
they?
Curtain.
Though? Can you name any of them?
Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, no, tell me, like right there by the Baltic Sea.
Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, Belarus.
Latvia.
You just said that one.
I did?
Yes.
Yeah,
And Lithuania, and then you have Belarus, right? And
Mhm.
then of course Russia, Ukraine. That's the Baltic area. On top of those, you also had Czechoslovakia, which is not really
Yeah,
one. It's
that's
two
two
countries put
countries.
together. Yes, smushed together. Then you had Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, right? Serbia, Croatia, which became just Yugoslavia. But
Yeah.
there were actually 4 countries there together: Kosovo, Macedonia, Serbia, and Croatia. That's why people say Serbo-Croatic.
Yeah.
It's basically the same people. It's 2 different nationalities, 2 different sides of the same country. So you had basically at that time though, you had Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, right? Now those 5 countries actually are now 9 countries or 8 countries now. They're all, different, but they were 5 countries at that time. Then you had Poland, which was right in the heart of it, Ukraine, Russia. Then you had, like he said, the Baltic countries, Belarus. You had Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and of course, East Germany. So what you had was this coalition of people, and I'm going to say coalition of the unwilling, because none of the people from there really wanted to. There's a few fools that thought it was great,
Mm-hmm.
but 99.9% of normal people who weren't being treated better by the government hated it. They really hated it. And I've met a few East Germans, that were born and raised in it, and they liked it. But it was done differently in East Germany because the Germans had it together. They had their shit together.
Also depends on what social class you're born into, because your
Mhm.
experience is going to be different.
Yeah.
As long as everybody was the same except those that were part of the Communist Party or athletes or people like that. That's it. Everybody else was treated like shit. And so I'm going to tell you this. The East Germans, they were okay with Germany as long as they capitulated and became communists. Now, they had fought a bitter, bitter war with Russia. But Russia, I'm going to tell you something that's going to be very, very sad to say, but they did so much sexual assaulting of the German women that I would say a third of the East German population is part Russian now.
Yeah.
And there's people that would argue with me all day long about that until they're out of breath. I don't give a shit. I know what I'm telling you. They raped like millions of women. And the East Germans themselves, the people that come from there, are brainwashed. I'm not even kidding. I have a friend who, he married an East German woman, and she was absolutely brainwashed and didn't say that was true. And guess what? This is Otto, who I'm talking about. Otto's wife. Not wife, ex-wife. She goes back and she asks her grandmother, and her grandmother tells her the bitter truth, that she was SA'd by the Soviets. And not necessarily just the Russians, but just the Soviet troops, in general.
A lot of them weren't even
Russian.
Yeah.
So that's the bitter truth right there, folks. And people don't like to hear that. But they did a lot of horrible things, not the least of which was creating super soldiers. You think I'm joking? I am not kidding with you. They had built facilities, and one of those facilities was in Poland, and it was near a military base. And that facility was used to house and to mass produce werewolves, at least allegedly, according to what some sources say. Now, the guy that told me that story, he did his due diligence. He's a ex-military guy. He's now living in Germany. He's not even there anymore, because even though Poland would probably be the better choice to live between the two countries now because of all the horrible immigration that's going on, the Polish government's not too happy with him. Reason being is because these governments still work together. Because even though communism fell and everything became better, right? The Russians that were involved in these black programs, along with the Germans and along with what he believes were the Czech Republic, and I'm not trying to indict any of these countries. The South Africans were involved in it too, still to this day. And don't say it was because the white people that were in charge. No, the black people are in charge now, and they're still doing it. And the South African Congress is a part of it. Yes, you are. You know you are. You know you did this. You all did this. Guess who else is a part of it? More than likely, 100%, I cannot say about any of it other than the Polish government, but I can tell you this, the Canadian government. So you have this globalist agenda that's happening here, folks, right under your nose. And if you think for a second that they're not making chimeras, and this is what the shadow governments are doing. And I think that they're implicit, that the actual governments are implicit in this. I don't think it's just the shadow governments. No, I don't. I really don't. And I think that what they're doing is they are still making these beings.
Mm-hmm. I mean, why would they stop?
They wouldn't.
Exactly.
And they didn't. And they're not going to. They don't have to. Nobody's holding them accountable. Who is holding the nations of this world accountable?
Shadow governments don't follow, just the ones we see.
Yeah. Just the ones you know about.
Deep state stays intact.
It stays intact, and it doesn't matter what government is what. This is for you, and this is for me. Communism for you, and whatever the hell we want to do for us.
Mm-hmm.
They don't live under communism. The leaders don't. The communism is for the people, and it's a horrible way to live. You can't have anything better than anybody else. It has to be whatever, and if you do, the state's like, we'll take that off your hands, so you all stay equal.
We'll unburden you.
We'll unburden you from your,
prosperity.
Yep, prosperity. So this guy, he tells us this stories, and he went with some friends, and he ran into some soldiers. One of them was speaking German, another one was speaking Russian, another one was speaking French. But the French, he believes, was actually Canadian. It was a Canadian soldier because he had a weird accent, and then he spoke English, So he had his reasons to believe that. So then somebody stops him at the gate, and there were 2 or 3 different guys there, and one of them was Czech. He does some deep diving, and he finds out that there are multiple countries involved in this. Multiple. He didn't say anything about Americans, but he heard people speaking English, so that could be British. We don't know. But yeah, that's what's happening. And now I know a little bit more about where these beings probably came from. So around that same area, if you remember that episode, I'm not going to waste time trying to talk about that same area and giving you a whole blah, 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 blah. There is a guy I met. Well, I didn't meet him in person, but his name is Luca. And he told me, he says, dude, I'm going to tell you a story. He's like, my grandfather encountered these beings. They lived in that area long before World War II. Now, Luca is like older than me. He's like 55 years old. And his dad was a part of, this story that I'm about to tell you. It happened to his dad. But before we do that, hang on one second. All right. Sorry, folks. Hold on. All right, so let me get these notes here. I'm taking them out. I didn't have them in front of me. Sorry, folks. Okay. All right. So, anyways, touching base with the notes, here is what was told to me. He says, you know, I listened to your show about the Polish werewolves. He goes, I sent you a story. And he sent me this email after that episode, and he said, go back and read that story. So I did. And granted, I didn't do it right away. And if you send me a story, I may not get to it right away. I can't always be Johnny on the spot, but I will get to it. So I did. I went back and I read, especially if you send me a reminder. Just send me a reminder. If I haven't gotten back to you, say, hey, I sent you a story, blah, 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 blah. Check it out, whatever. So this one was interesting. And he's an American. He was born here. His dad and his mother, well, his mother's from here, but his dad and his grandparents were from Poland. And they came over here after World War II, or his not World War II, communism fell after communism. So his grandfather came here, or his dad came here first in 1991, and then his grandfather came here in 1994, and he died a few years after that. But he left behind a diary. This diary details things. He could have been killed for having this information. And he talks about the Soviet governments working with the East Germans and the Polish people in that area. In that area, there literally is a triangle that I didn't know. There's like a triangle. There's like this sub base, which is like connected to the other base we talked about in Poland. And then there's this sort of disappearing base that is not on the map. It's not supposed to exist, but there is a facility there. Okay. And I had somebody try to be snarky with me and tell me there's nothing there because blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, there probably isn't. Is there going to be a big map that says, here's the secret base?
It's a big neon sign with an arrow.
Big flashing sign right here. Secret base, guys. Secret base. They yell across hey, guys, meet me at the secret base. The secret base.
No,
the one that people know about, the one people don't know about.
The one that we don't tell anyone about.
There's all these people there in the audience going, huh?
The one I'm not telling you about right now. Yeah, that one.
We're trying to keep it a secret. You keep making me yell.
Up to the left, about a quarter mile.
I know this is a conference. I know this is, and there's a bunch of people here, but I'm trying to keep it secret. It's like when we were at the concert, remember? And I had to get on the loudspeaker and tell you, secret base. So the secret base, there is a facility there. And there are people who have messaged me and said that they've seen it on a satellite. I have not looked up satellite images. I don't have time for that. But if I did, oh boy, I'd be all over it. But I don't, okay? So I take your word for it, and I take these guys' word for it. So what they said was, he said, dude, they literally used these werewolves. There was in particular, like a particular family. This is what Lucas said. He says there was a particular family that they used as the templates for this. His grandfather details this. He says, dude, he goes, it blew me away when you started talking about the Polish, because I had already sent you the story about that. He had sent it. And sure enough, I go back and I look, it was 2 years ago, or 2 years, actually not 2 years ago, it was 2 years before the other story was even sent to us. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, I'm just a little bit behind. And I said, holy crap. And he said, dude, there was a family that was supposedly a part of this. This had been going on for a long time. And even this family, he thinks, had been there since before World War I. Like, I mean, this is old stuff from like the 1800s, maybe even the 1700s. It could even be older than that. We don't know. His grandfather had something very interesting happen to him. Now, this is going to become we'll start off with this. This goes back to this guy's Luca's grandfather. He lived in that region, and this is when he was a boy. When he was 11 years old, he had an encounter with something that can only be described as, well, let's talk about what happened. There was a knock at the door. There were 4 children, 3 boys and a little girl. Anastasia answered the door. She was only 4 years old. She didn't know what she was doing. And everybody in the village was like terrified. 3 people had been unalived. This happened in the early 1900s, right? His grandfather was a very much older than his dad. His grandfather had him when he was like 45. So it was like, his dad is the youngest of the children, right? But his grandfather is also 10 years older than his grandmother. So she was only 35 when she had him. But crazy thing, dude, the little girl, this is the guy, Luca, who gave me this story. This is his grandfather, right? He died in like 2000 or something. He only lived a few years when he came over. I'm telling you, this is how these things start. It was something like this, right? So years ago, there was an insurrection and the government was really like, the Polish government, I think, has done probably the best job of all those countries, but still it's not great. But there was like this insurrection, right? And so there was a lot of suffering and people weren't doing good. That's why communism was able to take hold, because these countries were so brutal to the people. That's why they were able to say, hey, we all be equal and the government won't be. And then the government is worse.
They're like, oh, anything's better than this.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is not better than this.
Yeah. They knock on the door. And
Did
so
not think this through.
So this is weird because there was a knock on the door and they were like, hey, open up. We're looking for so-and-so. And most of the people in the village were just like, they're not here. And these soldiers, they weren't interested in going into everybody's freaking house. What was weird, though, is they had already had the knock on the door about an hour before, and the soldiers had swept through. So they didn't hear a bunch of people talking and a bunch of stuff, a bunch of soldiers and horses and stuff. They didn't hear any of that. And they hear a knock on the door. And little girl, Anastasia, answers the door. The guy, whatever, that was standing there was dressed in a cloak, and he was wearing all black, and his face was covered right here. And he says, Are you the woman of the house? Like trying to be cute to the little girl. And he's like, do you mind if I come in? And the grandmother, this would have been Luca's grandfather's mother. She was like, or not his, it would have been his grandfather's grandmother. The old grandma, she was wise. She knew this. She goes, no, you cannot come in. You can stand there at that door. And she told the children all to hush up. She's like, if you're with the military, show us your credentials. And they'd show papers. This is paperwork. She's like, and where are the other soldiers? He's like, well, they have already left the village, and I'm an inspector, and I'm here to make sure that everything goes on the up and up and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, no, I don't think so. She's like, if you were with the military, you would have just walked in. She's like, you know why? Because they were here earlier and they just helped themselves. They walked in and they took bread and soup that didn't belong to them. She's like, and if you are with the military, tell them I don't appreciate that. The man that they're looking for isn't even from this village and he's not here. And she told them who this man was. And she goes, and I know who this guy is. And he's a very evil sort. And you'd be best to leave him alone. Look at this. This individual says, oh, I don't think I would have a problem with him, you know. But you're going to have a problem if you don't let me in. And she's like, I don't think I can do that. And he's like, why not? And she goes, because I know who and what you are. She was what they called an old wood witch, right? I'm not agreeing with it. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying that's what she was. But she was smart about who this guy was and what he was doing here. And she's like, I know who you are. I've seen you in the woods, lurking around, skulking around. She's like, take off your shawl. And he's like, no, it's cold out here. I don't want to catch, pneumonia or whatever, some kind of excuse about being sick, my words. Because that's what he said, that he was I don't want to catch cold, She's like, oh, you're cold, all right. You're already, you're here.
A little late for that.
You're a cold heart. You don't need, and she's like, it's cold outside. She goes, because you're cold. Your heart doesn't even beat anymore. And at that point, he tried to step into the house, and then he took a step back, and she's like, you can't enter this house. Even though she practiced wood witchery, which a lot of people will argue is not really witchcraft. It's like herbs, medicine, helping people, heal people, whatever. Using energy. She was a Christian. She was considered a Christian. She was Catholic. She grabbed a rosary and a cross, a crucifix. And she's like, touch these. And then I'll let you in. And he's like, I don't think I need to be touching religious artifacts to prove my point. He's like, I'm Inspector so-and-so, Karlovsky or whatever it was. And you need to let me in. Then he produces like some document saying that he's some inspector or whatever. She's like, I don't care. So she backs up and she says, if you can cross that threshold, you can come in. And the guy stands there. He looks down and he looks back at her and he goes, I'm not going to do this. And he appeals to the younger people, which would be Luca's grandfather's parents, and says, can you please let me in? This woman is acting ridiculous. She's like, I'm not acting ridiculous and nobody's letting you in. And she's like, you know what you are, you know who you are. And she's like, say it. Say it. And he's like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just a man. She's like, take off the shawl and show us your face. So he does. He reaches up, and at the last second, he stops, and he tells the littlest, the youngest one, he's like, little girl, your grandmother's being so cruel to me, and I'm so cold. Can you please let me in? And she looks at her grandmother, and her grandmother's like, no. And he's like, I'm speaking to the child. She goes, yes, you're speaking to the child. Because you don't want to talk to me. You want to talk to anybody in here but me, and I know who and what you are. She's like, and by day, you hang in a tree. And at night, you go around and you make things happen. The man that's being accused of these murders he's not the one that did it. It's you. And he's like, well, pulls the mask down, and he has this huge row of teeth. And he's just like, grabs her and pulls her out of this cabin. And he's like, now you're outside with me. And he grabs and he bites her and tears part of her neck out, like literally in front of the whole family. And then he takes her, he absconds with her, and he jumps like Spring Hill Jack. It's kind of what it reminded me of. And then he's like jumping from rooftop to rooftop with this woman. This is not a werewolf. They find her in a tree right on the edge of the woods where everybody could see the next day, and she was completely drained of blood and her throat was partway gone. Lucas says, my grandfather witnessed the death of his grandmother at the hands of a vampire. He's like, that started him on his journey to dealing with these creatures. He's like, he was so brokenhearted and so hurt. His grandmother was taken from them, but she stood there to protect the whole family. And she had a whole manual written up, which a lot of these people were peasants. They did not read and write. She did. And she said, this is very important. He goes, and if it wasn't for her, his grandfather always told him, I would never have learned to read and write. Now, he learned to read and write in 5 languages. He wrote a manual, basically. Doesn't survive to this day, but he wrote one. And then he even went further. He wrote a diary documenting what these things were and what they did. Now I asked the question, I was like, did he ever see this man creature once ever again? He goes, no, the thing moved on and was killing people in the next few villages over. And this thing went on to do it until World War II. According to his grandfather, eventually this thing stopped. And his grandfather said this, and this may sound bad, it may sound politically incorrect or whatever, but his grandfather said that the Germans did them a favor and exterminated it because they killed a lot of things that were bad or whatever, and they encountered them, and they didn't even, some of these creatures were rounded up by the Germans, and they were just like, how do we kill this? And they would tell, the locals would be like, this, and that. The Germans did it. Goodbye.
Killing machines.
Basically, yeah. And so they rounded up the gypsies. And I'm going to tell you why. Because a lot of these villages, the villagers, they blamed the gypsies for the problems. A German soldier got clipped by one of these creatures. They found him. He was slumped over. He was exsanguinated. Das Reich. That was the Das Reich division. And they were like extremely angry. And they were like, one of our soldiers has no blood. What did this? And so the peasants are like, this creature. It lives in the woods, and the Germans went out into the woods and they grabbed it and brought it back. They had it they put silver around its neck. This is one of them. I don't know if this is a story that his grandfather claims he witnessed this during World War II. He was a Polish, civilian at that time. When they were invaded by Russia from the north and Germany from the south, and it was a joint invasion, which is why I don't understand why the British declared war on Germany and not Russia. They both were guilty. I don't know why they messed around, but that's what they did. And his grandfather said he was a little older, though. He was not old, and he was too old to be in the military in World War II. So he was a civilian, but he witnessed this. And he eventually became part of the Polish counterintelligence, and he worked for the Germans. And then when they lost, he worked for the Soviets. He was smart. A lot of the population couldn't read and write. This guy could read and write in 5 languages, and the Soviets used him. I don't blame him for helping the Germans or the Soviets, because that's how you survived. You were caught between two warring parties that were absolutely into killing people.
Didn't have a choice.
You don't have a choice, buddy. So you do what you got to do. Everybody's real good at like the moral compass. Oh, he shouldn't have helped the SS. He shouldn't have helped the KGB. What would you do if they said, we're going to kill your whole family, or you do what we tell you? What you're going to just be all like, well, okay, then the whole family dies?
No, I just save them all. I just wouldn't let them.
Or they throw them in the gulag and then they have to be worked to death from the time they're children?
It's different when you're in the moment.
Yeah. So let's not judge. I don't want to hear any schmarmy comments. You can get the hell out if that's going to be the case. So I'm not judging this guy. He's dead, and it's not part of the story. It's just what happened, and I'm going to tell you the truth. And if it's unacceptable, or maybe if it's not politically correct, too bad. That's what it is. So this guy, he dedicated his life after seeing his grandmother literally murdered and then exsanguinated by this very tall, demonic.
What is that?
What is
I
that?
heard that too, right?
Hold on one second, folks. Is anybody out there? What was that? Yeah, it was somebody rattling the door.
Is the next door? Is Darwin?
No, there's nobody. Darwin's 75 years old. He's not going to be next door. He worked during the day. All right, guys, let's get back to the show. Okay, somebody was shaking our door. Well, I rebuke you in the name of Christ. You were not invited here. You're not welcome here. You have no business being here. In the name of Jesus, we rebuke you. All right, folks. I don't know what that was, but somebody or something was shaking our front door, shaking it, and then we could hear it.
Like whenever we try to open it, but forget it's locked.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what it sounded like.
Yeah, somebody was shaking it.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay. All right. Well, we're back on track here. So, yeah, it is, Dick Richards. It's a war, friends. War. Bizarre. Okay. So, where were we at? So this vampire creature, or whatever, does what it does, and it gets caught up and it gets exterminated by the Germans because it killed one of the SS. And they took it, and this guy's grandfather claims that he witnessed this. He witnessed this, and he was like in his 40s already, whatever. But he said that they took this creature and they brought it, and it was bound in a chain in its mouth, like it was all the way around the side of its face. Think of like Baraka from Mortal Kombat. I've said that before, and that's what he witnessed. And he said that the Germans took it, they cut its head off unceremoniously, staked it in the heart, and then burned it with kerosene. And even with its head removed, it was still, the head was screaming until one of the SS stomped on it. And its true form was bluish white with big, pointy, elf-like ears, big floppy ears. These creatures do what they do. And then, when the Soviets came through there, the same things were going on, except that it had gotten worse. Tango Lino says the Germans were deep into the occult. Yeah, so were the British and so were the Soviets, dude. Yes, they were, and so was everybody else. I always hear about one part of them being, yeah, whatever, dude. Nobody's making excuses or saying that they're good guys. They're all bad. It's all bad. And yeah, they were. It's just funny that they don't ever get, nobody else gets called out on it. The British were using Aleister Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a war. They were doing anything they could to win it.
Yeah, but it wasn't right, though. It doesn't make anything that any of them did right. The Soviets were doing horrible, horrific things. I mean, it made everybody else's crap all put together look like child's play. The British were doing some really nasty, satanic things. I don't give a shit what anybody tells you. I know because I've read the documents. They were absolutely into. They bargained with Satan. I'm not even joking. Everybody thinks that they're the good guys, that they were some good people. Not the British people. They suffered horribly. I'm talking about their governments. The governments of these asshole governments were doing horrible things. I don't care. You're trying to win a war. You don't reason and bargain with the devil.
Well, you said it last time. There were no good guys.
No, there was not.
Different levels of evil.
That was weird. I heard a snapping noise. Okay, so what ended up happening is that they did what they did. They got rid of it. The Soviets came through there. This stuff was still going on, but there was one particular thing that they latched onto. And I'll tell you what that was. When this guy was a boy, he witnessed his grandmother dying, right? Well, this is what his father told him. Luca's father, who's still alive. His father said, he goes, my dad was up there in age. I was in my 20s. My dad was already getting, older. He was in his 60s. He's like, and his brother was old. And so I would toggle back and forth between the two farms. We didn't have a car. And when I rode a horse, and this is under the Soviet occupation. What are you going to do? And he said, look, I had to go and, check on both sides of the family, whatever. Him being a child and growing up, this is like 20 years into the Soviet occupation of Poland, was absolute misery and horror. They treated the Poles like dirt, and they lived on subsistence level living, and so you had a farm. You had to, if you made a little more than other people, you had to fly under the radar, you know what I mean, and not show people that you had more carrots than they did. I mean, it was ridiculous. You might have a few more potatoes. Somebody turns you into the Soviets. They come and they take it to make it even. That's how good they were. And so there was a garrison of East Germans and Russians there in his area where he was at. And they did not hesitate to mistreat the Poles. And the Soviets did that on purpose. They knew that the Germans didn't like the Poles and vice versa. So they let the East Germans sort of garrison that area and mistreat the hell out of the Poles. And the Soviets did it too. The Russians were horrible. If they thought your wife was desirable, they'd rape her. You think I'm joking? I'm not kidding. Happened quite a bit, especially from the Soviets. They were just completely animalistic because they don't believe in morals, folks. Don't let them fool you. Communism has no moral compass, and it's a disease, and as long as it spreads, they can continue to do what they do. Sorry, but that's the truth.
I don't know how these people can love communism and then still be like big animal people.
Yeah, I don't get that
that's
either.
The worst to me.
And your family, your uncles died fighting communism in Vietnam. Yeah, no, your mother's told me all about it. It's horrifying.
Yeah, my uncle and my grandpa. My uncle is missing fingers, and my grandpa is missing fingers, and he has bullet holes all over him.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad to see.
And look at what Peter and Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Peter and Lee, that's one of them, my jewelers. Okay, and they told me they Peter told me the story. They took his brother-in-law, which is Lee's brother, that's his wife, in the middle of the night, asked him a couple questions, and then shot him in the head and left him in the yard. This was not long ago. See, in Vietnam, they hide the communism. They act like, oh, it's cool now, it's safe. No, it still goes on. People still suffer. It's very much a communistic country. Make no mistake, folks. This horror is still going on, right? But under Soviet rule, There was nothing wrong. Everything was perfect. This is paradise, my friends. As long as you're
Nobody dies in paradise.
nobody commits crimes in paradise. As long as you're not a Polish citizen trying to live, and you run into an East German guard or a communist, whatever Soviet group of whatever out to have some fun or whatever the hell they want to do to you. And then the Polish soldiers themselves were just brainwashed young men who had been told that this is the way it is, and they'd grown up living in this utopia. And in fact, the Soviets had a point that they wanted to make to everybody. And Khrushchev said this himself. He's like, pretty soon, everybody who remembers all the bad things from when we first started, they'll all be dead. And the new people will live under the utopian, government. In other words, all the cruelty that was done to force our will on everybody, those people will be gone and they won't remember it. And the new generation will just be like, hey, it's great. This is the way it's always been. His grandfather didn't know any better. He was living under absolute communism. Right? I mean, his dad, whatever. His dad, he didn't know any better. The war was like ending when he was born. Mm-hmm. So anyways, this is how it is. So he's riding his horse, folks. And his grandfather, Luca's grandfather, had already seen these creatures. He had seen one of these wolf-like creatures when he was taking a walk one time with his wife. They were walking through the woods and they hear this howl and they see something running and then it stands up. It's a reddish-brown creature with a humongous head, big shoulders, and kind of skinny legs, the way his grandfather described it to Luca. Was it like the legs weren't big enough to hold up its body, Sometimes you hear about them having really big legs. This one skipped leg day, I guess. I don't know. But he turned around slowly and he grabbed his wife and he said, let's go. And they walked out of the woods unharmed. But there were people who had come up missing. And the Soviets were going village to village, knocking on doors and asking if they knew anything. And anybody who knew dare not say anything, because then they're going to take you out and tell you, take us to where it's at. You know where it's at. Take us to where it's at. Because they wanted to catch these things. So then you become bait. And that's what they did to a few people, and they lost their lives. So nobody is stupid enough to go along with them. They're just like, no, we've never seen anything. No, it's cool. And if you go around telling people that somebody that you love and care about was unalived by one of these things, they would take you and throw you in the gulag. Because remember, these bad things don't happen under communism. There's no murder in paradise.
No such thing as death.
You die of natural causes, even if you get filled full of bullet holes, comrade. So what they did, they had soldiers running around looking. But he had a little trail that he followed through the woods from his uncle's farm to his dad's farm. This is Luca's, dad. And one night he worked and he was really tired. And his uncle and them, they pleaded with him. They said, come on, stay here. Stay for the night. Don't try to ride the horse back. It's a long ride and you're tired and everybody's tired. Let's just go to sleep. And he was like, no. He goes, I've been here for 2 days and it's the second day. I got to get back. I got animals to feed and I got to check on my mom and dad. His mother was going blind. And so he was like, I have to go. So he got on the horse and he had a really beautiful, strong horse. And he was scared all the time that the Soviets were going to take his horse and repurpose it. Because if you have anything under communism that looks nice and shiny, somebody from the party will take it. Because remember, everybody has to be equal, comrade. Coming to a country near you. You think I'm joking? That's what would have happened too. So anyways, he gets on his horse and he starts galloping through the woods. He hears what sounds like a person in distress. It sounds like a woman or a child. He can't really make it out. He's not real sure. He hasn't seen these creatures. He hasn't seen a vampire. He hasn't seen a werewolf. He doesn't even really know if he believes in this. He's been told about fairies and elves and all this other stuff, and he was just like, it's just crap to me. I've never seen any of this shit. All I've seen is a will-o'-the-wisp, which is like a ball of light. Us here at PRT, we know what that is. That's not. That's the evil portent
more.
right there. That's the beginning, right? You see that something's in that. Something's that is something, right?
It's traveling in that.
It's traveling. Yeah. He didn't know that. All he knew was that it was a ball of light, a yellow ball of light. He'd seen it 3 times, and it didn't bother him. So he thought, well, whatever. This evening, it was almost dark, and he could barely see the trail. And he goes, his horse was tired, and it was a long ride back. It was like 14 kilometers or something like that, several miles. And he was halfway there. And then he hears a Jeep like, riding by, whatever. And he's like, oh, crap. And he looks and he sees that it's a group of Polish soldiers. Now, you don't want these soldiers catching you because they'll take your horse. So he just hangs tight. Then he hears them getting out of the Jeep, a few, clicks up, whatever, a few feet up, whatever, from where he's at. And he hears, help me, help me. And then they're like soldiers, right? They're like, they're stopping and they're listening. And then he hears one of them talking to the other officer, and he could tell that this guy was a German because of the accent. He could speak Polish, but it was an East German that was stationed there. And so they started kind of arguing, and the German was wanting to go and check on this noise. And the Polish people, the guys were like, no. And so the German was like, I want to help. It's a child. And then the call comes over the radio, and there's somebody that's telling them, hey, you need to get back to the headquarters. And so the East German soldier gets back in the Jeep, and the Polish is chiding him, telling him, man, this is not, you don't know, this is not your country. That's not a child. That doesn't make his dad feel any better about what his situation is. He's almost like tempted to go, oh, let me go right over there to them and see if I can, They take off. And then he's like, so something is in these woods, and according to those soldiers, it's not human. Solitude is fun at times, but not all the time. And now he's there, and he hears it again. He hears, help me. And he's like riding his horse. And then as he gets to a certain point, there's this one old tree. He said every time he rode by it was evil. He said, in fact, there was something on that tree, because one time a branch whipped down out of nowhere and knocked him off. So there's a low-hanging branch. He goes under that tree, and he hears it right behind the tree, and it's like, please help me. And the horse rears up, and he falls backwards and hits his head on that particular tree branch. It gets him, he's gotten him a couple times. And damn near knocks him out. Then he manages to fall slumped over, and the horse takes off running really, really fast. The horse knows where to go. That's the good thing about a horse compared to a car. The horse will go to where the stable is. Mm-hmm. You could fall asleep on a horse. And in fact, when I was young, I did.
It's natural GPS.
And then I just woke up in the stable, and I was on Chance, and Chance was like, well, here we are. And he was just kind of like, putting his head on me, when I got up, and I was a kid, my grandfather's horse. He gave it to me. But anyways, he's on the horse. The horse is galloping. He comes to, and he looks back behind him, and he sees this creature that's from his absolute worst nightmares. And it's running along behind him, and it's got its mouth open, and it's just chasing him. And that horse is hauling ass. And he wishes that he was a little bit lighter and had eaten so many dumplings, because what's behind him looks like a werewolf running on 4 legs, but with human arms instead of legs. Then it stands up, and it begins to run on 2 legs, and it's almost like it's faster now. And he's just like praying to God. He's like, God, help me. As he turns one corner, he can see the lamps from the entrance of his farm, and he's like, I'm almost there. He's like, and at the last second, the horse buckles, and he falls forward. He goes flying through the air. He eats dirt, literally, breaks his jaw, and it plagued him for the rest of his life. Knocks out some of his bottom teeth, breaks his arm and his right shoulder and his left ankle. So, left clavicle. So he's broken his shoulder. What was that?
That was my necklace.
Okay. Now you got me spooked here. So he gets up, and he's just like, he's all beat up. And he just sees this thing going over the top of his horse. And he's like, it sees it tear into the horse. And then it lifts its head up and he could just see blood coming all the way down its mouth. And his beautiful, beautiful horse is laying there just kicking. He's not armed. He's a peasant. He can't do anything. The communists have disarmed him. They took everything from them. They take half of their food. And so he just takes off running, and he can't yell. He can't yell for help. He can't, his brother that's there at the farm, his younger brother can't. His brother was slow. He was slow. He was born slow. And so, but he was strong as an ox, but he was just slow. And then this thing decides that it wants to go after him. And it chased him up to a certain point. But his grandmother had told him about vampires and how they could not cross a certain threshold. They had a little bridge. It was a beautiful farm. Beautiful farm. Eventually it was repurposed, redistributed by the government, of course, because it was just too pretty. You couldn't have pretty things. Everything has to be ugly and gray. So anyways, he's running across this bridge, and once he gets across that water, this creature gets to the edge of the water and rears up, and then it stands up, and he sees its chest, and it's like roaring at him. It goes back down on all fours, and it takes off. He's across the bridge, and he just says, dude, he couldn't walk. He could barely walk. His legs were just tore up. His knees were bleeding. Everything was hurting. And he gets inside, and his mother and his dad help him. His mother was a nurse during the war. She nursed German, Polish, and Russian soldiers. And so she sat him down, and she helped him, And she's like, they took him to the doctor the next day. That day, he slept in absolute agony that night. The next day, he wakes up. He can barely talk. He's like his jaw is broken. It's broken. Luckily, it wasn't just tore up. It was just, broke like a fracture, She takes him to the doctor, and of course the doctor's asking him what happened. This guy, he's chummy with these communist soldiers. He's not going to tell them everything. I fell off my horse.
The doctor's chummy?
Yeah. And he's like, how? The guy starts asking a bunch of questions. He says, look, I fell off my horse. It hurts to talk. I want to talk about it. A wolf attacked my horse. And the doctor's like, interesting. He looks over, and there's one of these communist soldiers there. He's a Soviet, and he steps up, and he's like, where did this wolf attack your horse? And this is where it gets interesting. He's like, oh, crap. The soldier was out there listening right outside the door. Can't even go to the freaking doctor. And so he's forced to go and show them. When he takes them to the spot where the horse should have been, there's only blood. And he's like, it was right here. And these Soviet, East German, and Polish soldiers are all there. And they're like, well, that's interesting. There's nothing but blood here, comrade. Funny that a wolf or even a pack of wolves would drag off an entire stallion. An ill-tempered one at that. His horse was known to be a stud, and it would, he'd ride it, but only he could ride it. It wasn't friendly with anyone else. It was a stallion. It was wild. And they're like, this is this beautiful golden-colored horse that you have that everybody talks about. And they're like, he's like, yes. Had a name too, like I forgot the name, but he told him, he's like, they didn't believe the story. And they said, have you seen anything on this trail before that looked unusual? Because the Soviet government, the Polish government were interested in this. And he said, no. But I promise you, if I see anything unusual again, other than this savage wolf that attacked my horse, I'll let you know. And that you do that. And they pretty much threatened him. They were like, it'd be in your best interest to do that. 2 nights later, he hears shooting, pow, 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 gunshots coming from the woods, pow, 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 pow. Soldiers screaming and yelling, running around. And he hears like grenades or something going off. About an hour later, he gets a knock on the door. Bam, bam, bam. He opens the door and there's 2 East German soldiers, and they're just like, one of them is like, just on his last leg. His mother tells him, well, yeah, come on in. What's going on? And he sets the guy down, and he tells him in his best Polish, he says, Werewolf, Werewolf. And she's like, what? She had not encountered anything other than that weird creature that her and her husband had seen that one time. But her husband, Luca's grandfather, which would be his dad's dad, the one that was attacked by the horse, he says, let me talk to this guy. So he takes him into another room. And his grandfather wrote all of this down in the diary. And he says, where did this happen at? And he says, our soldiers were attacked. There's 3 Polish soldiers, they're dead. And our Soviet commander he was taken. And he's like, what did it look like? And he told him, he said, there were two of these creatures. One attacked us from the rear, one attacked us from the front. He goes, and there's still 2 or 3 other soldiers out there running around that I'm not accounted for. I don't know what's going on. And they're not far from the farm, right? So his grandfather goes with this young man. His son, Luca's dad, is still tore up. He can't do anything. So they go out on horseback. And this soldier gets to the edge of the woods, and the horse that he's on begins to rear. It's a mare, and it knows better. It's like, I'm not going. And this soldier was not clicking his heels trying to get back into those woods. He goes, I don't want to go into those woods. He's like, I want to go home. I don't want to be here. And he's like, he turns around and he has to reprimand this guy and tells him, look, you're here. That's where you're at. In Poland. You know? And he kind of tells him, he's like, if your people and the Russians had not invaded my land, you wouldn't be here right now. But thank your people and the Russians for doing this shit. And then he's like, his grandfather was really angry. He was like, I really wish that all of these Germans and Russians and the Poles that are implicit in this would all die. What was that?
Yeah.
You heard a scream?
Yeah, outside. It's like feminine.
Okay, look. We'll be right back. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Well, okay, so we don't know what that was. We didn't see anybody. Okay, where were we? I'm trying to get this story out, and whatever it is just aggravating the crap out of us. Where did we leave off? Okay, so his uncle, or his Luca's grandfather, his dad's convalescing. He goes into the woods with the soldier, and the soldier just kind of nods his head like, okay, whatever, old man, you get it. I get it. You're pissed off. But the soldier reminds him, he goes, this happened before I was even born, and I didn't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And between you and me, he said something that was probably not correct to say. He was like, I'm not exactly happy with the way things are, but here we are. So they kind of agree, to just, and they go into the woods. This man, he's handed a pistol, which is actually not supposed to happen. And this East German gives him a pistol and says, "Here, take this." And he goes, "Okay, thank you." And then they trot into the woods. The guy has a rifle and another gun. This soldier was smart. He took his friend's gun and he took some other people's weapons, and he was like, "I got ammo. I grabbed what I could and got the hell out of there." We shot our way out. And he tells him, he says, these creatures, they look like werewolves. And Luca's grandfather is like, "Yeah, I know, I've seen them." And his grandfather said, he goes, these people that live just beyond this ridge over here and on the other side of this creek, which is a part of a river there. He says, "Dude, they are rumored to be the descendants of an ancient race of beings. They've been here for a long time. And they are a type of werewolf. They can change. They are shapeshifters. Their eyes are yellowy brown. Nobody in that region had the same colored eyes. Their skin was kind of tawny looking. They did not look like everyone else. So everybody was always very suspicious of them." He suspected that it was that family that was doing the predation. Every now and then someone getting snatched up and basically unalived. Having seen a full-on vampire when he was a child in its true form, his grandmother used to tell him that they would hang from trees and drop down on people. And so he was indoctrinated into this belief system when he was very young. He already knew this is what's going on. And he told him, he says, "Look, in Germany, do you have werewolves?" He goes, Yes, in the Black Forest." He's like, "And we don't go there." And he's like, "Okay, so you get it." And of course, that was part of East Germany at that time. He said, "I was stationed there 2 years ago. I know they exist. And these fools, the Soviets, they're trying to and it was very much like this. When the Poles were together with the East Germans, they would talk smack on the Russians, right? They would talk shit about them. They'd be like, "Yeah, F the Russians, blah, blah, blah," And so the Soviets always made sure that there was one of them amongst them so they couldn't get together and talk. But they wanted the East Germans garrisoning the Poles because they had a hatred for one another. And so it gave them a reason to always have their nose in everybody's business. So this Polish guy I was talking to, he said, "My grandfather told me this." I said, "I know, I can tell. I know how it works." So when they get together, they're just like, "Yeah, well, F the Soviets." Everybody really, truly in their heart hated them, but they were in charge. So when Perestroika came, Gorbachev was like, "Hey, everybody hates us. The whole world hates us. Even the Chinese, who are supposedly a big communist country down there, they hate us." So they were very hated. So as much as I'd like to sympathize with the Russians' plight now, there is a lot of hatred that was brought upon by their own barbarity. And you have to face it, even if you're a right-winger and somebody who loves the Russians and thinks they're totally the good guy and the Ukrainians are the bad guys. You got to remember, those are governments, not the people. The Ukrainian people are not the bad guys. The Russian people are not the good guys or the bad guys. It is the bad guys who are running these countries. Keep that in perspective. The government rarely represents the people unless they have something to gain from it. Do you understand? Let's stop talking about the people. I love the British people, but I can't stand your government. I love the Russian people, but I can't stand your government. I love the Ukrainian people with all my heart. I promise I do. But I hate your leaders with a passion. If I was in charge, they would every one of them, be thrown in jail and be taken before military tribunals and tried for war crimes. Every single one of them. But sadly, I'm not. I'm just a troublemaker. So let's continue making trouble. They literally talked bad about these Soviets, and they just kind of made a pact and said, "Look, we're going to work together. We're going to get through this." He's like, and they see one of these creatures just running full speed, dragging one of these Polish soldiers who was already unalived. There were some bodies. They found some bodies. And there was another one of these creatures. And still another one. This creature came up over the ridge, its eyes glowing yellow, growling, kind of moving side to side. The other one's kind of swaying back and forth in one place, just looking at him, waiting to strike. And this dude, this old guy, he tells him, he says, "Young man, hand me your rifle." So the man takes his rifle, hands it to him. He takes it, bolt action, lifts it up. This thing moves, and he shoots in anticipation of its movement and catches it right above the eye. Boom. And it falls backwards. Then he goes and he shoots the other one. Not politically correct, but he shot him in its private area. And the thing crumpled over and was just, that was it. Then the other one took off into the woods. While this one was writhing in agony, this brave guy, this guy's grandfather, gets off his horse and walks over to it. And as it looks up at him, it's a man. The face still just kind of smushed in, becoming human, and he was in pain. He walks over to him, points the rifle, puts it to its head, pulls the trigger. He walks over to the other one. It's a man, slumped over a log, bent in a U. There's nothing there. Its side of its head was blown out. I don't know what kind of rifle it was. Maybe, it could have been, but at that point, you hear more gunfire coming from further down. He knew that he had probably just done something that the Soviet government didn't want him to do, because they honestly don't care that those soldiers were killed. They don't care if the Germans died. They don't care if the Poles died. What? They don't care if the Russians died. The government wants what the government wants. So he turns and he tells that guy, gives him his rifle back, and he says, "Let's get out of here and don't talk about this ever to anyone." So a few years later, he moves by helping the Soviets, in what capacity he could. He tells them when they finally figured out what had happened, he says, "I did this," because they were going to take this young man and execute him. So, and I'm jumping around, but this right after that, they figured it out like a couple days later, and he admitted it. So they took him into custody. This is Lucas' grandfather. And they told him, they said, "Tell us what you know about these creatures. These are the Soviets." And he said, "Your friend," they called the East German guy his friend. They're like, "We have him. His name is Johann, and he's going to be executed in the morning. He killed something that he was not supposed to." At that point, he says, "Okay, I did it." And he's like, "I took the young man's rifle and I shot them. And I killed them. And the Russians, they told him, they said, 'Do you know how to kill these things?' He says, 'Yes. Shoot them in the head.' But it doesn't always work. Sometimes they get up and they reanimate and they keep going." He's like, "So you burned them?" He's like, "So they asked him the question, 'Did you burn them?' He said, 'Yes. Yes, I did. I lit them on fire.'" When he lit the second one on fire, the one that was shot, whatever, it began to pop and roll around and flip around. And he said something interesting in his diary, that it looked like a spider, the way it popped and hopped and jumped around.
That sounds familiar.
Interesting. When this all happened, he did not anticipate all of this, Lucas' father said, he goes, "Dude, these things can make noises like children." These were men, obviously, that could change into these beings, but they sounded like women and children. One night when he was asleep, he was living in a city in Warsaw. He had been transferred. His grandfather had taken off to be used by the Soviets, so they gave him this basic training stuff that he had to learn. 60-year-old man, right? Well, they took his son too, and they said, look, just in case maybe you were bitten by one of these things, we want to do some tests. And he says, go ahead. The thing did not touch me. It killed my horse. They ran their tests and they found out that, well, nothing had happened. Nothing unusual. His sleep pattern was normal. Everything was normal. When they took him, because he stayed behind on the farm while his dad was in Warsaw, that would be Luca's grandfather. They took Luca's dad to this facility to do some tests on him. He says, look, he's like, I'm not a werewolf. I'm a normal person. I have a child, I have children, Luca and his siblings or whatever. And he says, look, he goes, I'm not doing anything. I'm not changing. I'm not, and they kept him there for 6 weeks. Well, that's death to a farmer because during harvest, you have to be there. During planting, you have to be there. And he says, my farm is going to suffer. My animals, everything there. My brother is touched in the head. He can't do these things. And they were like, oh, well, more's the pity. And he said they had a very sophisticated facility. And it was not on the books. It was not the base that everybody knew, that where the East Germans were the bunkhouse, where the East Germans were, where the Soviet commanders were, and where the Polish soldiers were. He's like, no, this was somewhere else. This was underground, deep underground. And so he started to contemplate, what are we doing here? What is this? And one day he got up and he started to wander around, and there were guards and different people, and they didn't question him. They just walked right by him. And they were always following these people in these white lab coats. And he ends up going to this area down this hall. And when the door opens, he walks in, and it's like a magic door. He hadn't seen anything like this. The technology at the time was not matching up to where they were at. He's like, it was almost like outer space stuff, That's the way his dad described it. It was like a science fiction. Door just slides, It's just there's nothing like that in the 60s, right? So he goes in and he's just like, this is crazy. And he sees on the table this creature that was wearing like BDU pants, like a soldier's military pants. And his upper body looks like a werewolf or a bear. He couldn't tell if it was a bear or a wolf. And it was being shocked and his moving its arms. And he looks over in the corner and there's another one that's laying there and it's moving around and twitching around, and it had no legs. It was unbelievable. And still another one that was like being floated in water with like some sort of mask on it. And he was like, what in the hell am I looking at? And this one of these soldiers that was just standing there turned and looked at him. And he looked and he saw this soldier to the right. And he saw this other soldier to the left. And they looked identical. And he thought, oh, they're twins. And then another one comes out of nowhere and it looks just like the other two. And then still another one grabbed him and put his face over him and took him out of the facility, out of the room. And there were 4 of them, and they were all on top of him, and they all looked the freaking same. Every one of them. So this nightmare that he's going through, all these tests and everything that they're doing on him, he realizes these people, they're clones. They all looked the same, and they weren't mean to him. They just took him and they said, look, where did you come from? And he told them. And the other 3 went back in, and the other one grabbed him and started walking him by his arm. And he says, dude, you didn't see what you just saw. I'm going to let you go. But if you tell anybody, we're all in big trouble. And he's like, and lucky for you, they don't even have a camera up here because they don't want anybody to catch this footage, because they were so paranoid of the British, the Americans, and the French trying to figure out what they were doing. the technology to take a camera. Now, if you have a camera in your house, folks, let me tell you something. Be really careful because other people can pull up on your street in a van and they can tap into that and they can see inside your house. Did you know that?
It's not hard at all.
It's not hard at all. And it happens all the time. That's how people rob you because they can see what you have. So be very careful with that. Or do what I do and just have an armed human being that's there all the time with attack dogs. So that if somebody shows up, they just disappear. I'm kidding, folks. I'm joking. My clones, they take care of everything for me. In fact, there's 3 of us. We're all different. That's why sometimes my head looks fatter than other days because it's just me and my brothers. We're all doing this together.
Yeah, the second one, I've recognized his eyebrows are a little bit more
Satanic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit more satanic-y.
He's the dark one. He's the bad one. He got a little more Mexican in him than me. Luckily, I got more of the white side.
everybody knows. Like,
That's why I'm the more gooder one.
Those little people that call on your shoulders, the little U's. There's a good one and the bad one.
Mm-hmm.
Yours just kind of grew up. They just stayed.
And then it fell off my shoulder. I thought it was a tumor, and it turned into be a me.
It's not a tumor.
Like on what's that one with the space? Was from Roiland and the ones that made Rick and Morty. Solar Opposites.
Yeah, Solar Opposites.
They have the little things that pop off of them whenever they get, whatever. They get all anxious, have anxiety. The little creatures pop off of them. So what happened? He goes, this clone, and he goes, at the time, I didn't have a word for he told Luca, I didn't even know what a clone was. His grandfather comes back from Warsaw. He had been to East Berlin too, and then he had gone to Warsaw. And then after he came back, he goes, I'll be here for a month, and then I got to go to St. Petersburg. Well, whatever the hell they were calling it at that time, Leningrad or whatever the shit the communists made it up to. He goes, I got to go to Russia. And he's like, they're trying to use me to track these things down. And they did. They did. They managed to get 2 of them from that family. Here's what we know about that family. Apparently, they were Roma, gypsies that had come from India long, long ago, going way back. One of them claimed to be over 400 years old. He's the one that they captured. He was the long-lived dad. This guy claimed to be from the time, like his lineage, he claimed it from the time before the Dwapara Yuga. So he wasn't really a gypsy in the true sense. He was an actual from India. And his grandfather, according to them, was one of the original ancient ones, and he was from a Nephilim bloodline. And his grandfather wrote about this, really believed that this is what they were. And there was no record of how they became what they were. They just know that they came from an Indo-European bloodline. They were not Polish people. They were not even Romanian people. They had come from the Romanian, whatever, but that's not what they were. And his peoples had come from Western India. And they were part of an ancient race of beings that you would call the Cynocephali. They came from within the earth. That's all he knew. The pure ones, as they called them. But let's be honest, they're not really pure. They came from the Nephilim. Possibly the Anunnaki, the Watchers, who knows. But they created these creatures for some reason, for some dark purpose. And they sort of evolved into being, people don't like using that word evolution, but let's call it adaptation or whatever. It is what it is, right? Inner earth beings. That's my opinion, my belief. I'm not saying that that's what these people said. That's what I'm telling you they are. And in the end, we are just spitballing here because we really don't know. And people can tell you these things all day long. It doesn't mean that that's what's true. I'm just telling you that's what they think. And this is the conclusions that I'm coming to and saying, hey, this is probably what it is. So they take these 2 into custody and then they disappear into the facility. And voila, you have this crazy crap going on. That is probably what our friend that sent us the information from Poland, this is what is tying it together. It's all from the same area. And if I would have done my due diligence before, I probably would have heard this months before, but I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't have time. I didn't read his email, all of it. So there was only a little bit really that was disseminated, until after the Polish episode. And that's when he said, look, my grandfather has a diary. So either this guy is the best creative writer I've ever come across, or he's telling the truth. That his grandfather, and of course I tell the story and it comes to life. It is a gift from me to you. You're welcome. You're welcome, folks. In Trump's voice, you're very welcome. I'm a good storyteller. I'm very humble, and I won all of the Easter egg hunts against all the little brats. They were very slow, very dim-witted children. They couldn't catch the Easter eggs like I did. I got them all.
They were losers.
They were losers. Their parents were losers. I ate the Cadbury eggs right in front of them, and I said, you don't deserve even one bite of this. You're a loser.
The best storyteller. We've never seen such better storytellers.
We have the bestest storytellers ever. I'm telling you. I deported half of myself because he was too Mexican. I'm just saying. I'm a man of my word. All right. Screw China. They're horrible. Even the Russians didn't like them. They were like, you use too much MSG. I don't like this. It makes me sick.
It's salty.
too salty. But anyways, I channeled my inner Trump on that one. And then Biden's like, there's a corn pop, bad dude, shit pants, Pope, the end. Thank you, Mr. Biden.
Player.
What?
So you're my favorite basketball player, Mr. Pope.
And he's like, so, do you have a rebuttal? And you hear this like donkey teeth laughing. For the president next. How much have you had to drink tonight, AOC? You've had a little too much. Well, that's because I was hanging out with Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters. Yeah, you're going to get arrested, motherfucker. I'll tell you that right now. Look at that night train, bitch. Got these cheeseburgers, man.
Mad Maxine, I call her.
And then there's Mitch McConnell.
He always looks like he's just seen the most horrible thing.
Yeah, then he's always like,
his life.
I was drinking with her too. And then Lindsey Graham, get out of here. I can't stand these people. You're sick, rotted, fetid. Putrid scum.
Bad people. The worst people.
The worst people you could ever imagine.
Is this sick?
There's never been such bad people.
Every one of them is very bad. I'm telling you, they're awful. They can't tell stories. I can tell you that. Awful people. The swamp. They're from the swamp of Louisiana. That's where they're from. Anyways, he looks like a shellless turtle. And what's his name? McCain. I can't lift my arms. I was waiting for Mario to like jump on top of McCain and just turn him into. Man, you got Obama, Barack. I can't even make my ears big enough to be Barack.
My fellow Americans.
I'm gay and I'm a Muslim. I'm a gay Muslim. I don't know how that works, but we make it work. And I have a he-she wife that's she's doing fine. Whoops my ass every now and then. I enjoy it. Smoke crack with prostitutes, male. Yeah. There you go. It's the truth. Unadulterated, filtered it out. And then the guy with the patch. Yeah, I lost my eye and my brain. Part of it's gone. Stand that.
Foolish don't ever fool us again.
And then you have Schiff, like the little skinny neck.
God.
Dude, that guy looks like if he could choke on a grain of rice.
Yeah.
And his head is this giant, ball like a potato.
Looks like if you just push on his head a little bit, he could break his own neck.
And then Chuck
So
Schumer.
it's a balancing act.
Yeah. Toddler head. He's toddling around. And you got Chuck Schumer over there. The devil. Have you seen my niece's comedy? It's as bad as my politics.
He looks like a goblin from Harry Potter.
Oh, he's terrible. What is that stupid woman's name?
Amy.
The nasty Amy Schumer. She's just as
Oh,
stupid
yeah.
and gross as he is.
Miss Piggy.
Miss Piggy.
Women do this. That's all her comedy.
That's all it is. Anyways, folks, enough of the comedy here. You didn't tune in for that, but it breaks up the darkness. So enough making fun of politicians. They're just people. And then Ted Cruz, he looks like he's crying. I'm Cuban. Dude, you're Cuban. Then you know what, dude? I'm Haitian. How about that? Let's just make up a whatever we are. I'm Filipino today.
Fool me
Make you
once,
sick, man.
shame on you.
Sweaty Teddy, I call him.
And then Bush over there. Well, you fooled me once and you fooled me twice. And the
Yeah, fool me again.
lady. Man, I can't stand these people, dude. And his fat little brother, what's his name? Jeb.
Oh, yeah.
Jeb.
It's crazy how far you go back and they just don't get better.
Oh, it's horrible. And then Hillary up there. I just want you to know, people, I love you, but don't make me kill yourself. If you really anger me, you're gonna have to kill you. You're gonna make me kill yourself, and that's how you get me to kill yourself.
I had no sexual relations with that woman.
And I'm talking about Hillary. I never had sexual relations with her ever. She's into women, especially little girls. No lie. And it's just so sickening, and it never gets any better. It never gets any better. But folks, I'm going to tell you something. This is what has to do with what we're talking about. If we keep on with this trash, with the garbage, and we keep on splitting technical hairs here, and we keep following this one particular group of people down the road to hell, well, guess what? You're going to end up having people from other countries, soldiers here, and they're going to be telling you what to do, and it's going to be communism. And if you think that American soldiers are going to be in charge, no, you're crazy. Globalism is not about that. It's about lockdown planet communism. I'd love to tell you exactly who I'm really not trusting, but if I did, they would cancel me like that because they have the power. Just don't trust the color blue. It's a warning from me to you. Look it up. Blue leads to red. You know what that means? Figure it out. You like Alice in Wonderland? We'll go down the rabbit hole where the psycho bunnies live. Think about it.
Red Queen off of your head.
Turn from blue, then to red. Next thing you know, you're dead. So here's what I'm going to tell you. This guy's grandfather actually was involved in finding the family that they used, I guess the genotype or phenotype, or what would it be? They used them as the templates to create these creatures in those facilities. They were already there and had probably been there for hundreds of years. Probably because the Cossacks, my grandfather's people, were so damn mean, they chased them all, broke them and chased them into different areas. So they ended up over here and over there. Because one thing I can say about the Cossacks is they're warlike, and if you weren't them, just like the Comanches, and amazingly I have both bloods in me, you were enemies. And they didn't put up with no weird-ass shit around them either. One thing about the Comanches and the Cossacks, if you were different, they'd kill you. It's like, there's not going to be, you'll be able to slink around and become part of, hey guys, I'm one of you. They're like, no, you're not. And they would just kill you. Why are you praying like that? I'm a Muslim. They're like, you're a dead one.
Not anymore.
I go to synagogue. I don't care what synagogue you go to. Psh. It's just the truth. The Comanches were the same way. And the Comanches didn't have a lot of problems because they just killed everybody that wasn't them.
Yeah,
you're not a Nurmana, so goodbye. I always crack up when people talk about, that when they start spouting off history, you don't know history. You don't know the truth. You know what you've been told. You know the filter, and you know the people who've used their opinions.
They're
to make it into
romanticized.
facts. They've romanticized it, exactly. And no romantic about these people. They were violent. They were bloodthirsty, but they got shit done. You didn't camp out in their territory. And you know why? Because when you let all these weird ass people around you, you know what ends up happening? Vampires and werewolves. That's what happens. Sorry to say it, but sorry, not sorry. I'm just telling you the truth. There you go, Dick Richards. There you go.
I mean, me and Russell Clark,
Our father's child.
we're talking about this yesterday, and we were talking about some shows we liked, and we talked exactly about this, how they keep romanticizing history, and it's becoming hard to enjoy anything. And one show we mentioned was Shogun, and how they actually showed how brutal and oppressive the Bushido code actually was, and it wasn't just some honorable, like, oh, we're just, we do good things, but instead it was a very difficult thing to live by, and it was often
I read the Bushido Shoshinsu. Those people were nuts. They were crazy.
Absolutely nuts. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't like
but they romanticize it like it's something to live by now. And so
it's crazy.
You don't know what you're talking about.
So Thorwolf says, although my last name in German is so maybe the Comanches would leave me alone if I lived in Fredericksburg. Honestly, yeah. If you lived in Fredericksburg or New Braunfels or Schulenburg, those German communities, they never got attacked by the Comanches. The Germans and the French were actually really smart in the way they dealt with the Comanches. When they would slaughter a cow or a calf, they'd give them one. And they very much traded with them. And when they, had something, they would give a little bit to them so that they wouldn't mess with them. And so they didn't have problems with them. They didn't understand why the Anglos had so many damn problems with them, or the Mexicans had so many problems with them, because the Mexicans and the Anglos and the Spaniards tried to fight them. And you couldn't fight the Comanches. They were guerrilla warriors through and through. And I'm not building them up just because I'm part Comanche. I'm telling you the truth. I don't romanticize it. Or my dad's people, the Cossack. I don't. They were freaking brutal. Look up the Cossack. Cossack's. Look it up. They did something else too when they kicked the shit out of the Muslims and the Turks. In Turkey in the Ottoman Empire. Look up what they wrote.
When he took when they
sacked the city. Yeah. Well, I'm talking about the letter that they wrote, and then they went and sacked the city of Istanbul.
Yeah.
They called it the unconquerable city. My ass was my people conquered the shit out of it. They looted and they did bad things too. There was a lot of SA going on, but a lot of the women went with them willingly to leave. So I guess they weren't too bad. They must have liked it or something, because the women were like, "Hey, we'd rather be with you than be sex slaves to these sultans." Little people.
The thing is like they were already in that position because they were given to the Sultan already.
Paul says the letter to the Sultan is hilarious. Not to cut you off, but we got to say. So my wife wrote this song, and here's this song, the new one we have for the new album, and it's appropriate for what we're talking about right here. So go ahead and play that song, and then we'll get back on track and we'll tell another encounter.
All right.
Worth reading.
Sweet, sweet Alice, step through the looking glass, step through the looking glass, and into clear but logical, peculiar, strange, a white rabbit with a clock on a chain. He's late for a very important day, but I must follow, I must know where the white rabbit goes. Skeleton key to open everything, a wonderland key to change everything, a door so small, wondering who can fit in there at all, a potion to drink, one sip it'll take, what a mistake. The wonderland cake, another mistake. Alice's tears making a lake too big, the game is rigged. Friend or foe, the caterpillar knows, smoke rings of wisdom, magic mushrooms in this kingdom, size to control. Alice continues her stroll. A mad Hatter tea party so bizarre, and everything is strange by far, confusing and absurd. executions for everyone. All the while she does this all with a frown, not a smile. Angry is she with her unforgivable deeds. 752, what do you do when it's off with your head? You paint the roses red. Who painted the roses red? They'll soon find themselves dead. Now it's off with her head. Alice wakes up in her bed.
One of the latest songs.
Sorry, I had the mic muted for a second. Go ahead.
You got it unmuted?
Yeah.
All right, folks. So that is one of the songs from the new album. There's a bunch of good ones. We've already got 5 of them done. We got like 5 or 6 more to go. And then the new album will be released. And that is the Alice in Wonderland song. Not a lot of music lovers. A bunch of people dropped off. They're like, I want to hear some music. And they took off. But yeah, that's the newest one from Nelly. That's the Alice in Wonderland. And if you listen to the lyrics, and I hope you do, you'll see the message is there. Okay. And so we have a choice. Do you want to hear the other werewolf story out of San Antonio? I could save that one for Sunday. I think we should, because I really got to get this other guy's story told. So Donnie sent me a story from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Did she start saying Alice to her? What are you talking about? So we'll start the bidding at $20. Do we have $20 for the San Antonio werewolf? $20 for the reptilian from Albuquerque? $20, $20 for the reptile, $20 for the San Antonio werewolf. We're going to start doing that with all these. Just start, doing the bidding. That way we can get people to help us here. Come on, help us out here, folks. We're paying a bunch of money to be here.
Well, Steven will take that.
Ridge Runner, you don't need to donate. You've already donated too much. Always donating. We need other people to step up. Quit being cheap. Stop being cheap, folks. This is free entertainment. Come on now.
What about these cult
Come
dudes?
on now. Penny nickel dime, yo. Penny nickel dime.
How are we supposed to do?
How much for a re-up? How much for half a re-up?
Gene Skaggs says, I like the vamp story. That was the beginning of that werewolf story, was a vampire story. Dog man.
We got cults and cult activities to handle.
Zara Gonzalez says, Donnie, you're up. So you're wanting the reptilian story. Well, so far we got Tennessee Ridge Runner. They gave 25. What is he asking for? He said the song rocked. So he's not telling us what he wants. Susie Jago says reptilian.
Oh.
So we have one for reptilian. Andrew says werewolf in town, but it's $20 to $1.99. So you got to come up with another 18 to equal the reptilian. Here we go. Abraham. He's not telling us who though.
Stanfield with the
$2
reptilian boat.
reptilian. So we got 22 to 2. So they're up by $20 here. You got 2 minutes, folks. 2 minutes to put in your donation and get the
2 minutes to midnight.
2 minutes to midnight. Let's see. That shirt is sick. Hell yeah. This is the Bear King. This is it. I have a Bear King shirt idea made, but I don't know if I don't want to use like AI to do the so if anybody out there can draw, and I know 2 or 3 people can really draw, but anybody want to make the Bear King shirt, because we're talking about making that and putting it in the store. And the only thing stopping us from opening up the new store is that we want to make sure that we get stuff that you want. So the Bear King is one of the most listened to songs. How many views does that thing have now? 70, 80,000 or something? It's quite a bit. Okay, Under Fire. Because I know there's a few people that can draw.
89,000.
89,000. Wow, that's almost 90,000 people have listened to the Bear King.
It's awesome.
And that one was the only one. That and the Mummy. What's it called? What's it called?
The Mummy's Curse.
The Mummy's Curse. Those two are the only ones I really had a real hand in. Yeah, that's crazy. He says this is a Kabbalistic, but from Jews from Spain to Iceland. Thorwolf, when did the Spanish, which would be the Sephardic, when did the Sephardic go to Iceland? I don't think they would go up there to that northern country, bro. I don't think so. I'll have to really look into that because, I mean, and I disagree with you on the Krupps thing too. It's not that hard to find. But most of the time we're on the same page. I don't know. It just depends. Merchants. Yeah, but Thorwolf, you got to realize something though too. They were kind of cowardly. They weren't going to go up and brave that North Sea to go and trade as merchants when they could just go to the warmer climates in Barbados and Trinidad. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe the Turks. The Turks had balls, dude. the Sephardics, nah, dude. Somebody says that. Oh, that's my brother. He says he wants a shirt with the gecko wearing a backpack. The Amazing Dumb. Yeah, that became legend in the world of PRT. Banking cabal, yeah, for sure. So what do we have here? Reptilian. Looks like reptilians are winning. The reptilians are winning. The reptilian stories. People want the reptilians. So I guess that's it. We're going to do the reptilian story. Donnie wins. All right, Donnie. So here's what happened. Donnie actually, this wasn't these two stories that we were talking about doing tonight, whether it was Donnie's story or Mark's story. Mark's story happened in San Antonio, and it only happened like 6 months ago. It wasn't that long ago. It was in the fall, I believe. And so Donnie, he reached out to me, and this didn't happen that long ago either. It happened, I mean, not in the big scheme of things. It was like maybe 2025 or 2023, I think is when it happened. But it happened in Albuquerque. And reading the comments here. So anyways, we lost, about 100 people, whatever. So what? They'll do it on the replay. They'll get it. They'll come back. They know where the butter or the cream and
the butter of the cream.
They know where the dairy products are stored.
Where the yogurt and the milk.
The yogurt and the milk and the cow. They know where the cow. Oh boy. What was it we were joking about? And it was me and you. We were somewhere, Tony, and you were like, that person's pretending to be human.
Oh.
What was that? And they were talking like, yes, human. Was it? I'm taking a human shit. It was like that. And you were like, dude, that dude's totally pretending to be a human. Remember, where were we at? We Walmart or something? Where were we at?
No, it wasn't a Walmart. It was like, was it Buc-ee's?
Was it? You're off camera for some reason. I don't know why. We could move yourself over there. What was it? Buc-ee's?
I feel like it might be.
Oh yeah, when we were coming back. Was it? We were coming back from San Antonio.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was you and I, and we were standing there, and that guy was talking, and he was like, "This product is good," and it's yeah. Tony was like, "That dude's totally pretending to that girl to be a human." Like, so folks, that is a good. We'll intro with that because. So yeah, I think it was Buc-ee's. I think it was because I think it was coming back from the conference.
Yeah.
And I don't know where Anthony was.
Anthony was in the bathroom, like always.
Maddie was with him or something. I don't know where they were at. But you and I were talking, and we were like, that dude acts like he's not a human. Because he was like looking at it going, this looks like a good product. It's like, what the hell is this?
He was talking to someone, like describing
He was talking to a girl.
Yeah, and but he kept describing like every little thing.
Detail of the product, yeah. I wonder what he was. Because he didn't, because we joked about it. We were like, hey, I think we just saw an alien. We coming back from a paranormal conference. It wasn't a UFO conference, but it was it
was ghosties.
But it was ghosts, but it was still weird stuff. And so, anyways, yeah, and the guy, such a tasty beverage. He's like, this is a tasty human beverage. The girl just was like nodding her head, like not talking, and I was like, what in the hell?
They might have both been aliens. Yeah. He was she's a camera and he's a log.
Yeah. Like, what is going on here? What's happening? Oh man, so you get this weird vibe from these people, and when we went back to the truck or whatever, we told everybody, "Hey man, maybe we just came across some weirdos, or maybe they're aliens. I don't know. It could be reptilians." But what happened to this guy, Donnie, it definitely would be categorized as that. And Donnie is a pretty hardworking guy. He became disabled back in 2021. And officially became disabled, and he didn't accept it. He went back to work in 2022 after he broke both of his legs in an accident, and he just, instead of letting it get him, he learned to rewalk, and he did something which is really. So when we were talking, I said it's very admirable, and he got himself off of disability, and he kept on chugging, dude. And he's like me. His mother is Hispanic, his dad's white, so we kind of hit it off in that way. And then what's weird is, here's a weird thing. Mark, the guy from San Antonio, same situation. His dad is Caucasian, his mother is Hispanic. So shout out to both of those guys. Pretty cool. And so we ended up hitting it off, and he tells me, he says, "Look, I got to tell you a wild story." He goes, "You're talking about, being a gangster years ago, whatever, which is like a whole lifetime ago for me." But he says, he goes, "I can relate." And I said, "Oh, really? You were a gangster too? Or are you just, and what is a gangster? I mean, you can just define it as being a ruffian or somebody who was serious about it, And he goes, "Nah," he goes, "I got involved because my older brother, who's deceased now," he goes, "but he used to collect money for these thugs. And we would go to people and tell them, 'Look, you got to pay or we beat your ass.'" He goes, "And we ended up getting, going on the wrong side of this other gang who said, 'Hey,' he goes, 'we're over here thinking we're just like freelancing, like you pay us, we'll go help you, But these other guys across town, they were like, 'Hey man, what are you guys doing, Holmes? Why are you helping people that we don't like? That's not healthy for you, is it?' Basically, And he was just like, we're not working for these people. We're working with these people.
We work freely.
Yeah, we are not part of whatever they're doing." Well, these guys didn't care. And they told him, they said, "Well, don't be doing any more work for them." So it scared them. So him and his brother, they went to this gang that they were helping with the money collecting and all of that. And they told them, they said, "Hey, I don't think we're going to do this anymore." And that gang told them, they said, "Too bad. We've officially decided we've decided you're officially a part of what we're doing. And not only are you officially a part of what we're doing, you're going to keep doing it because you're good at it. And we know you exist now. So there's no going back and going, well, you know what? I've rethought my life decisions because like when I did the same thing, I had to sit around and wait to be killed because that's what they're going to do. They're going to think you know too much about them. And they're going to come after you, and especially if you dismiss all of your people and say, well, I'm the Lone Ranger now. Go ahead and do what you got to do. And my thing was simple. It was a moral issue because I didn't want to drag a bunch of other people down into my crap. It was my crap, and it was my crap to deal with. And I take my karma, my dose. You ever seen Young Guns 2? Where that, I can't remember the guy's name, Viggo Mortensen, I think is his name. And he walks up to that kid that's dying and he's like, "Take your medicine, son." That's very much what I was going to do. I was like, I'm going to take my medicine. And if it means you catch a slug, then you catch a slug. Because I fully believe 100% in Jesus Christ and his Lord as my Lord and Savior, and his dad, his father, his God. And so I was going to take my medicine. And I was going to not make anyone else drink the bitter waters, the pill. The only pill now I'm going to pop is the red pill. Paranormal red pill, PRP, right? You down with PRP? Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so that's it. I was like definitely going to just take my medicine. And this guy said, look, I was about to have to take that medicine. And I was like, I was caught between these two gangs. And me and my brother and our friend, his friend, they called him Miklo, like jokingly, like from Blood In, Blood Out. And he said, me and my friend Miklo, we decided what are we going to do? We were a little too good at our job. And now we're caught between two warring factions, these two Mexican gangs, both backed by prison outfits. I might need to be skipping town. So what they did, his brother had a girlfriend, and she was originally from Santa Fe. He goes, so we did. We left. We moved to Santa Fe. Thing is, still part of New Mexico, and it's really, as a crow flies, not that far away. And he says we should have gone like to Texas. We were
To a
going
different
to,
state,
yeah, we were
yeah.
going to go to Houston. We have family there, and we should have gone to Texas. I said, yeah, go to the vibrant city of Texas, of Houston, and be a part of the MS-13 culture, the flourishing Mexican mafia culture, all of the different gangs you could possibly imagine,
Out of the frying pan.
all the gangs that you could eat.
Out of the frying pan into the fire.
Into the fire, yeah, out of the fat into the fryer, being rolled around in that flour with all that buttermilk on you. You're like, this is the life. And then you're being rolled in it just so you can be dropped into 500,000 degrees heat and be fried.
Oh, yeah, wait a minute. There must be a mistake here.
I think you're mistaken. You're about to drop me into
Excuse me, sir. This
Horrible.
bathwater is a bit hot.
Where do I file a complaint around here?
where's the HR department? The hen, what is it called? Hen
OSHA,
resources.
where's OSHA?
Where's the hen resources? I'm not a chicken. All flee. Well, Miklo, their friend, decides that he's going to stay because he's got family there. He's got a wife who's being stubborn. And she's like, no, I'm pregnant. We're not leaving. They get a call in the middle of the night, and it's their friend. And that's not his real name, by the way, but their friend calls him, and he says, he's like barely talking. He's like, you guys are in trouble. And he's like, they got me here. He goes, I'm done. And he goes, they're not human. And so then they hear another voice. This is his brother, right? His brother, Donnie's brother. He gets on the phone and he says, you hear that, fool? He's like, we're coming for you. We know where you're at. You never going to see this punk again. And so they hang up the phone. The problem was that they were actually very efficient at what they did, and they made them a lot of money. And they had built a reputation on fear. And if someone, crossed these people, then they would send them and multiple other people. And the message was clear, like, you're defying us. And we can't let this other gang show us up. Because if you were told to stop because of them, that's a problem. So it wasn't just about the money. And what is that sin? Pride. So this gang was like, nope. And there were these guys, they called them Los Hermanos. And I've often wondered, have you ever seen that show Breaking Bad?
Mhm.
Where they had those two guys that were like brothers.
Yeah, twins.
I wondered about that because it's in New Mexico too. Like, where did they get the idea for that? Because these guys, they were called Los Hermanos, the brothers. And they told them, they said, we're going to send them to you. Two brothers to bring back two brothers. He's like, and at first, everything was fine. He goes, a week went by, another week went by, and nothing happened. He's like, and then one day, he goes, I was walking to the store. He's like, and this was back like, 2023. I'm sorry, 2018. It was 2018. He goes, I was walking to the store. He's like, and this was the first time that I had something broken on me other than my fingers from hitting people. And he's like, and I'm walking and I see this car and they come around the corner real fast and they pull up and they basically pointed a double barrel at me and said, get in. He's like, and I knew I'd been caught. He goes, how on God's green earth they did? He goes, I wasn't using the phone. I wasn't doing anything. I didn't have a cell phone on me. Nothing that they could have found, except there was something that was happening to me and my brother. Him and his girlfriend and his girlfriend's mother that they lived with, and him, and they were all having these weird dreams. And in these dreams, he would be wandering around out of his body, and these wraith-like creatures would chase him. And he would get right up to the door, and then he would leave, and they would leave. He would turn around, and he'd see them go in different directions. He goes, and I think it had something to do with it. I said, I do too. I think they marked you, and I think they were using these out-of-body creatures to find you. Because this gang that he's talking about, they practice brujeria, or brujeria, witchcraft. And they dealt a lot of drugs. And like I said, they were backed by a strong syndicate. They were affiliated with a prison gang. And so he ended up running afoul of these people. And I don't suggest it to anybody ever getting involved or messing around with these people, because they're serious business. They don't care. And life is very cheap to them. They don't give a shit. And so he knew that he was done for. So they took him to this spot. There was like a in the front, there was like a mechanic place, right? And in the back, they took him to the back. He said it was like, that's where they did their business. He goes, you could see old bloodstains on the ground. He goes, and they had already started whooping his ass in the car. He's like, and I tried to fight back. He goes, and they just overpowered me. They hit me in the head with the butt of the shotgun. And they gave me a cell phone. They said, call your brother, fool. Tell him to get up here. It was a pride thing, because if they had not been approached by that other gang, they might have been able to just leave. But because that other gang had told them, you come work for us or we're going to kill you, that first gang told them, okay, we'll up the ante. We're just going to kill you. Because they wanted them to go and retaliate and do something to that other gang that had threatened them. And they were just like, we don't want to be in this. Too bad. You're in it. Welcome to reality. So they started whooping him, beating on him. He's like, they handed me the cell phone. He goes, I could barely see. And then one of the bosses said, this guy can barely open his freaking eyes. How is he going to, he was chastising them. He said, he can't even see. So he goes, for a couple of days, they just let my eyes heal. And then it wasn't happening fast enough. So they opened it up. They cut the eyes so that he could see. He's like, to this day, I got these horrible razor blade scars. He said, they weren't patient people. He's like, and the first thing I noticed about them not being normal was one of these brothers hands me the phone. This guy, they were about almost 7 feet tall. I'm like, you're kidding me. He goes, nope. One of them was like 6'10". The other one was like maybe an inch or two taller. He goes, and they wore these big trench coats, and one of them took off his trench coat. He goes, and his arms were completely tatted on both sides. Very weird. The patterns were almost, they were octagonal, but almost like scales, the way that the tattoos looked. And the guy handed him the phone. He goes, and I saw these weird black fingernails. And he was like, what in the hell? And he looks up at the guy, and the guy's eyes are like blinking. And when they blink, every other blink becomes like a slitted up lizard's eyes. And he looks over at the one guy and looks back at the first guy, and they're identical. Twins, except they're about 2 inches short. One's 2 inches shorter, and he's bigger and blockier. And he's like, they tell me, they go, call your brother. He goes, and when he talks, he's like, call your brother. Like, not a normal voice. Mm-hmm. And he's like, points at the phone, and he taps it, and he goes, use your finger before I eat it. He sees these three Mexican guys standing there, and they're kind of smirking like, mm-hmm. Welcome to the lair. And one of them goes over to him holding a shotgun, and he's big. He's about 6'6". He's never seen Mexicans this big in his life. And he goes, well, you stepped in it. And then the other one says, yeah, you stepped in it. We told you, but you wanted to be a badass. And now we had to bring our friends here from Mexico to deal with you. Why did you make us do that? He's like, we're a different type of people than you. He's like, you are a Mexican. He goes, we are Mexican. And he leans in and he takes the top of his throat right here and he pulls And as he gets it halfway up, another one grabs his arm and says, if you show him, there's no going back. And he goes, and there's no going back. And he pulls it off. And it is a mask. And that mask is so good. He's like, I started researching this. And the CIA has these masks that they make.
Mm-hmm.
They can make you look like, they can make a fake mask of you, and nobody would know except you'd just be bigger and taller. And he goes, he sees this reptilian and he takes off his shirt and he realizes those aren't tattoos. That is their skin. And that dude tells him, he says, see, Holmes, now you see who you're dealing with. We are the real Mexicans. He's like, you just play at being a Mexican. He's like, you're not from Mexico. He's like, we are. You guys run around talking about Azteca, blah, blah, blah. He goes, we are Azteca. These guys were full-on reptoids. His words, not mine. That's why I called it that, reptoids, because that's the word he kept using. He says, we are reptoids. He's like, and we run this whole area. So his brother gets drug in because he's, they set him down right across from him. They beat the crap out of him, beat him half to death. And he's like, these guys were powerful, strong. And this dude is no punk. He's like 6'4". He weighs 300 pounds. His brother's like 285, and he's like 6'3". They're big dudes. Very powerful. He goes, I'm strong. I can bench 400 or 500 pounds easy. Strong dude. I saw pictures. He probably can. Kickboxers, wrestling, everything. And these dudes, he goes, they just one hand overpower you, put you in a chair. And they tell him, look, you want to make a deal? Let's make a deal. He's like, but you got to give us somebody. You bring us a couple of our enemies. He's like, and we'll eat them. Then you can go. If you don't do what we ask and continue to do what we ask, then we're going to eat you. Just to prove a point, he's like, they brought what looked like part of a human body, and they all started eating it in front of him. And he's like, Wolf, I'm telling you the truth. He goes, this may sound crazy. You may think I'm a mentiroso. It means liar in Spanish. He goes, you may think I'm just making this up. He's like, he talked very Latino,
Yeah.
He was like, he goes, no mentiras, for real. He goes, I'm not even joking, Holmes, for real. He's like, these dudes were straight up lizards, bro. He's like, they brought out like a body in a wheelbarrow, and they were eating it. He goes, it was disgusting. And there were two of them that I don't know if they were lizards or not. They just stood there. They were like human looking, but they just stood there like it wasn't phasing them at all. I don't know. Is this true? I don't know. And I said, what happened to your friend? He goes, well, the friend gave us up, and they didn't reveal themselves to him. So he lived, and he ended up moving to Arizona as far as he knows. And he's, and so he told me, he says, man, this was like 2018. And he's like, and now I live up north. He doesn't tell me where he lives, and I don't want to know, but he lives up north in a northern state. And he's like, and I don't, he goes, I'm like as off the grid as you can get. But something happened to him while he was living up north. And this is weird. And he's a little concerned. He went out on the back porch to take a pee one night. And he sees these yellow glowing eyes looking at him from the distance. And he was like, what is that? And he says, and as it got a little bit closer, he realized that it looked like a dog man. I also explained to him, I said, these things have hive mentality, and some of them actually have been seen quite often in the same vicinity as dogmen. And some claim that they are like their hounds. And I told him, I said, you need to be real careful, because if that thing saw you, then they have that hive mentality through the spiritual network that they use, and they could literally find you. I will say this, and this is not a pat on the back to me. I'm not applauding myself for this, but one of the things he did do after he started watching my show, he accepted Christ. And I tell everyone, I had somebody message me the other day. It was a witch. She claims to be a witch anyway. And she was just like, I don't have a problem with you. I'm not trying to curse you or anything like that. I am an active practicing witch. She's like, but you need to stop talking about God so much on your show because you're going to lose part of your audience. And that's why I don't care.
So be it.
So be it.
That's not the part of our audience.
And she says, and I just want to tell you, and I'm not saying this because I'm a witch. She goes, but God isn't necessarily going to protect you from death. And I told her, I said, God is the reason I don't fear that.
I don't need to be protected from death.
And I told her, worshiping death, praising death, or being ignorant, which leads to death, either way, isn't something that I'm afraid of. I'm not afraid of reptilians. I'm not afraid of vampires or werewolves or Sasquatch or Bat Squatch or Mothman or ghosts or demons or any of this other stuff or aliens or the shadow government. Because you're only going to be able to kill me once. And like I've heard people say, well, there's worse things than death. You mean you're going to torture me? Boy, that's not happened before. I have a very high threshold for pain. Try having gout in 4 places. You think it's a joke. I'm not even joking. Gout is the worst pain I've ever experienced, and I've been tortured. And you can see it on my face. One side of my face is not the same as the other side. And I can tell you this, I have scars all over my body. So, yeah, try having your toenail removed. Your toenails. You think it's a joke? You think it's yeah, try it. Let somebody pull your toenails off. I've had people beat me half to death. And I always say the same thing. It's no worse than what happened to Jesus. You're not doing anything to me. And I still talk crap, you know. And every time God has saved me, he has delivered me. But don't threaten me in veiled threats, whatever, because it's not going to work. And everybody that I'm with, that I love and I care about, are close to, are actually saved too. So when you do something to us, all that's going to happen is we're going to be with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And then when your time comes, even if it's 2 or 3 decades later, which is a blink of an eye, it's like that, you will be in hell where you belong. And then you have a lot of time to stop and think about all the people that you did bad things to. In between bouts of screaming, crying, pain, agony, and feeling sorry for yourself. So that's my answer to that. So go ahead. Moving on. This person, I told him, I said, were you prepared to die? He goes, absolutely not. I would have died in sin. He's like, but that was the first time I ever really prayed to God. He goes, and while I was praying, one of them turned around and was like, what are you doing? And his eyes were red. And he walks over to me real fast. And he was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I was praying. He goes, how did you hear that? He goes, I know, I could feel it. And they all laughed. And they said, God isn't hearing your prayers. But if you keep doing that, you're going to be on the menu. You better stop.
Why is it bothering you then?
Yeah. Exactly. He didn't say anything else. He's like, and I let him intimidate me. He's like, I wasn't strong in the faith at that time. He's like, I am now. So when he broke both of his legs in an accident at work, he received, what's it called, workers' comp, and then he was on disability, and he was approved. But he's a very strong guy. And I applaud you, Donald. You really are. And he got himself well by the power and grace and glory of God and his son, Jesus Christ, through the Holy Spirit. He prayed and he was healed. And he actually now can walk and talk like a normal person. He said, I was nearly beaten to death and eaten by reptilians. But be careful, because that wolf in the woods is not necessarily just a lone ranger. It's a scout. I believe that. Because these things, they don't all work together. But they have a lot of different outlets that they can use to do these things because it all comes from a dark place. These people need to stop believing that these things are all good or whatever. And some of them might be not as evil as others.
I don't think there's a single good one. I think they go as far as neutral.
Neutral, maybe, yeah.
I don't think there's actually one doing good for humanity.
Yeah. I haven't heard of too many of them doing victory outreach.
Yeah. Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yeah.
My wish is to live and not look at you. Have you ever noticed when we talk about reptilians, and the reason they don't do it for werewolves and vampires is very simple. They're considered to be a goofy, fictional, Halloween-y type characters because they've made it that way.
Mhm.
But people talk about these reptilians quite a bit now, and whenever you talk about it, you know what they do? They put a disclaimer on there. Oh, this is a fictional creature.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need to tell me that?
Every
so
single
weird.
time.
Why do you need to tell me that it's a fictional creature?
It's because there hasn't been enough fictionalized media put out there on the market to put it in the collective consciousness that, like, oh, this is fake.
Mhm.
Everybody already believes that vampires and werewolves are just the stuff of fiction, but there hasn't been 50 million reptilian movies, has there?
Mm-mm.
Or reptilian TV shows. There was what, V,
And then
That's about
nothing
it.
else.
nothing else.
Yep.
They're afraid of people believing it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this, and somebody says Sasquatch and Dogman are known to fight. Yeah, so what? That doesn't mean that they're both good. We've heard. What about Zach's story? Oh my gosh, have we told his story yet? I can't remember. We told Zach's story. He was a guy who his whole life was turned upside down by a vicious Sasquatch, who literally killed his animals and tried to kill his wife because it wanted his wife. And before the attack by this Bigfoot creature, his wife was like, oh, they're good. They're friendly. We're talking and all this stuff. Yeah, okay. And I got a couple friends that will tell you that they, Chris Kramer, he was on BMR last night.
Mhm.
And I apologize to BMR formerly for being on at the same time as you were, but I had to do the show because we didn't do it on Monday. But Chris Kramer was on there, and I love Chris Kramer, but he'll tell you that one of them helped heal him. And I don't doubt that could happen, but that's a very isolated case. Now, even the Nephilim had good ones. And I know you're thinking, no way, but yeah, because supposedly they helped Noah. So you don't know. You just don't know. And of course, there was some that survived the flood because after the flood, we know that they still existed. Because if you believe the Old Testament of Joshua and Caleb, they saw them. We also know that David slew one, and he was a giant. But remember, these reptilians, these are not human giants. The human giants are one thing, cannibalistic, cruel, whatever. Reptilians are a whole other ball of wax. They're not humans. They can blend in with us, and that's about it. They don't live and play by the same rules, and I'm about 90% sure I encountered at least two of them when I was working at the club, and I've talked about it on the show. I'm not going to reiterate that, but I felt the strength of one of them who was probably a hybrid and wasn't even as big as me. So I do believe they exist.
I feel like you said, like, oh, they don't play by our rules, but it's actually the other way around. It's like they force us to play by their rules, and they don't even tell them it. So we're playing a game we don't understand, and they're just raking in wins.
Yeah. James Bartley is correct. There are good ones that hide out, but you're not going to be grabbed and kidnapped and beaten half to death, because if that happens, obviously it's not a good one. The story that happened to Donnie and his brother is a cautionary tale of what happens when you go down that slippery slope, hanging out and working for drug dealers. Leave them alone. Stay away from them. Because if you don't get involved with them, chances are you're not going to be taken to a mechanic shop and beaten half to death and watch them eat somebody, if the story is to be believed. They were kind enough to let them live, but they had to work for them for the next like 3 years. And it wasn't until 2021 when they took off and they got away from them. In that time, they only saw a reptilian in its true form twice in 3 years. It was human liaisons or them dressed up as humans. And I say dressed up because they don't know whether they're shapeshifting or wearing masks or what they're doing. I told them this, and I tell my audience this, it was both.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they can make themselves, into a human by using energy, but that takes energy. And other times they just put on a mask. And I'm going to tell you something disgusting too. That mask may actually be a human's skin. You don't even know. These beings are highly volatile. These wolf-like creatures, highly volatile. Vampires, disgusting leeches. When you live in the real reality, which is where I hope that the PRT listeners are, don't buy into all this other bullshit on YouTube and all these other idiots that are doing shows and whatever. I'm not telling you to not listen to them, because some of them I do listen to, and I have a few of them that I've, heard people talk on. Just be real careful with those hosts and their opinions, because they are not me. They are not these guys. Then they are not you. You know more. I promise you, the paratroopers, even my enemies that are listening to this show just to find flaws for me, you know more now than these hosts that are doing these shows. And I'm not talking about the knuckleheads that were messing with me. I'm not even referring to them. I'm talking about these other people that are doing these shows, and there's a lot of them, and there's some big ones out there, and they're just stumbling around with this bullshit. And they're putting on witnesses that are full of shit, that I could break them down in 2 seconds and tell you they are lying. And one of them was posted in Paranormal Roundtable, and that man is full of shit. Now, the platform that he was on, I'm a good friend with that guy, but I'm going to tell you right now, that dude, if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. I'm not going to say it, but he's full of shit. He's full of bullshito. Somebody just said Bushido. Bullshito. I call it bullshito, whatever. I don't believe his story for a second. I know that I was working with another guy, or when that guy was coming up with that bullshit, and the guy that I was working with didn't believe it. And now that guy's over there buddy-buddying with all them. Yeah. Bullshit. He's good at telling it, but that's because he rehearsed the shit. That doesn't mean he's correct. Yeah, I keep hearing that, John Maddox, that Steve Isdall was in Austin. I don't know what he was doing here. I don't know Steve. I've never interacted with him. I have no opinion on Steve one way or the other. I really don't. A lot of people have said I've said things. I've never said a word bad about that guy. I don't know him. I'm not going to say something bad about somebody I don't know. But if I hear somebody saying things that aren't true, I'm going to say, hey, F you, you're lying. I don't agree. I don't believe you. And there's a couple people recently who have been kind of on the attack with me, who I'm pretty sure that is one of them in particular. I think is just a mistake. I think he's totally reading it wrong. I'm not going to go after him or anything like that. Just leave him be. I'm going to talk to him and explain to him, I'm not your enemy, dude. And the other guy, it's all about politics. But when you post 24/7 lies from the other side, that's just absolute lies, 24/7, every day, and you claim you're being impartial, I don't want to hear your lie. Bullshit. Because it's always one-sided, and it's always bullshit, and it's verifiable lies. So I said something to that guy one day. He got mad and said something back. So we were on each other's page, and I just said, look, this isn't mutually assured destruction, my friend. It is one-sided, believe me. So you might want to stop. You might want to back off and leave me alone, okay? And I'm pretty sure he did. So that's it. Now, these other knuckleheads, I'm not even worried about, because they're a joke. And then there are people who are just disinformation agents, and I think they're just agents of the Kali Yuga. They are never going to say the truth. Even if they know it, they're not going to say it. And they damn sure aren't going to be saying what we're saying here on this show. For the first reason, the main reason, and the most important one is that you're a coward. You're a coward. You know why? Because even if the boogeyman doesn't come to get you, you're afraid of another boogeyman, and that's called losing money. You don't want to lose your audience or lose money or offend people and make them flitter away. I could say this. I don't really care about the blue-haired nut jobs not listening to my show. If you don't want to listen, don't listen. Go be a witch or a bitch or whatever the hell it is that your life's ambition is to be.
Go be a Caesar or somewhere else.
But nobody gives a shit. Wear a shirt that says proud to be a slut and whatever else, and you want to squash babies and whatever you want to do and scream and yell into the ether that the orange man is bad. Go do it. You want to lay down in front of cars and traffic? I actually recommend you do that. Stop them. They need to be stopped. The traffic needs to stop for you. And the only way to do that is for you and your purple-haired friends to lay down in front of the traffic.
You should go do that on I-35.
I-35 is very busy, and you need to stop the traffic.
Mhm.
Go out there and hold hands in a daisy chain going, ah.
You stop all those 18-wheelers on I-35. Stop those Mack trucks.
Stop them.
They'll stop for you, bro.
Especially, though, because they know what you're doing. The illegals that are driving those trucks, they're going to be like, I'm not bad stock. The people try to help me. And what I think.
Yeah.
They're going to stop for you, bro. They're definitely going to stop. They're going to stop and they're going to slam on their brakes and they're going to go, I don't want to hurt these peoples. They're the good peoples.
I know this on my side.
Anyone seen Dora?
They're gonna stop the Stromps.
You know exactly what it says.
Trump's got to be stopped. I'm going to stop for you. Got you on my side.
I'm gonna stop for all these fat white people with the blue hair. Cause they're gonna help me to
Azul.
not be deported. But for Donald Trump, it's good. I'm gonna stop and not run you over, man.
La cabeza azul. The cabbage. Sorry, folks. I'm crying for all people that get run over. Man, I can't even do it right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, folks. Woo! That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna stop the trucks for Trump. Gonna stop in the women's the car. You don't like you let us kill the babies. They're gonna stop. Okay? Or they're gonna go, we come here to connect, to block you. We're going to block you. Cut off his sword, cut off head. Eat the hero. Eat the hero. Be a blue-haired hero. They're like, we're doing this for all of the disenfranchised people out there that are just being mistreated by the white man and the Americans and all those other people. Have you ever noticed, though, these young black men that go out and they'll try to talk to these people?
Mm-hmm.
They'll go from being the champion of African-American rights to hating black people real freaking quick.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, you piece of shit. And they let their inner redneck come out, you know, you N-word. I mean, oops. Because let's tell it like it really is. You're okay with them as long as they are being patronized and then when they say, hey, I think you shouldn't be doing this, then they turn on you and boy, then it's this real hatred, the vitriolic hatred that comes out. You see it in their eyes. You're like, yeah. And they're like, now's my chance to just tear into a black person.
Yeah.
And they love it. They'll tear you apart.
How dare you, you
naughty person.
Not nice.
Patriarchal male.
Dude, they're turning into Terrence Howard again now. You know why? Because he came out and said that he turned down a part in this Marvin Gaye movie because he refused to kiss a man. And yeah. And so now
that's what happened to Terry.
So now all these liberals are just biting into him.
Mm-hmm. Well, they wanted to anyway. Because if you ever notice, folks, and this has something to do with what I'm talking about. Have you ever noticed that everything that's evil, they support it? Mm-hmm. Have you ever noticed that? If it is in any part of the Bible or holy or Jesus or God or anything, they're against it. They are automatically against it in every way. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes Bible thumping crazy people are annoying. I've had to deal with them myself. But that doesn't mean I'm going to flip sides and go shave my head like Britney Spears, and then when it grows back, it's going to be purple, and I'm going to be full of shit. And go march, with a big giant vagina labia on my head or whatever, and scream into the ether. Wake up, man. These people are absolutely demonically possessed. They are insane. And you have literal reptilians running around eating people. I'm not even joking. And if they found out that 100% was real, because the media lies to them and tells them what they need to hear, these talking heads, the reptilians, if they found out that it was real, they would go and support it. Have you noticed how they flip sides? The Republicans were the ones that were for the rich folks and the Democrats were for the poor. Now it's the exact opposite. They flip sides. But you still have these rhinos that'll go in along with anything evil that this demonic left will go. They're all into it. They're all for it. You think I'm joking, folks? This is all part of the same. This is why people say, well, I don't want to bring politics in. I don't want to do politics. Yeah, well, let me all connected, pal. You can try. And you can say that you're not a part of it or whatever you want to. You could pretend. We can pretend. Suspend reality, the real reality. But it's all connected, folks. It is all connected. These people are basically demonic. And they want to destroy us. And they want to destroy you. They want to enslave you. And that first encounter stories that we had, where the guy's grandfather and that whole area of Poland where that stuff is going on, or where it started, how it started, whatever. This guy says, I can tell you how it started. And if he's correct, then that's probably what happened. But if you think for a second that it's going to take a war to make us become communists, you're crazy. It's not going to take no war. It doesn't have to happen that way. Because they can take over and not even fire a shot because of these dumbasses that are doing what they're doing. And do you think that you're going to be able to go out there and protest and yell and scream and act a damn fool when the communists are fully in charge? You're out of your freaking mind. You're a troublemaker. And even though you got them into power, you're the first ones that's going to get killed. Amen to that. I'm telling you, they're going to do it. I'm telling you. And then they're like, communism's never worked. No shit. It's never been put in place correctly. That's why it's never worked.
Oh, well, you tried the impossible and failed. Well, I am shocked.
And here's the other funny thing. They even go so far as to say that every form of communism that has been a repressive whatever is actually fascism. They've even changed the damn dictionary to make it say that it's fascism. Communism is a type of totalitarian fascism. Bullshit. Those are people who don't know history. My audience is overwhelmingly Gen X or Boomer. Yeah. For a reason. Because these young people, as soon as I say anything, they don't like hearing what I have to say because they've been brainwashed, they've been indoctrinated, and they have been, what is the other word? Not just indoctrination, but like years and years of like, God, I was reading it today, and I posted on somebody's deal, and it's
re-educated or
re-educated, but there's a name for it too. But it's basically like, they've been indoctrinated and brainwashed. I can't remember. There's another word that they've done too. It's two words, and they are sitting ducks. They are sitting ducks for this demonic infestation that's happening in our world. They are absolutely 100% behind it. They're okay with it. They're all about it. They're programming. There you go, programming. I knew somebody, Drake Dragon said it, programming. 100%. And you get what's happening, right? These millennials, especially the young millennials, they got the retardation. I'm telling you. And look at this. That's real cute. Come on, Tube. Come on, Tube. Every time you got to stop it at that number.
Yeah, that's the second time tonight that it's.
Yeah, they keep doing that.
There.
I think they're being cute.
Every single time we approach 700 or over approach 670, it stops there first.
Mm-hmm. And Slim Jimmy said, me and Moises are Gen Z. Well, I'm hoping that Gen Z will help right the ship. Because you ever know it's like skipping generations.
Yeah. The thing about Gen Z and Gen Alpha is that like they grew up they grew up being teenagers in a time when like the norm is like so far left, and when you're a teenager, whatever the status quo is, that's what you want to rebel against. So, but now things are so far to the left that the only possible direction you can rebel if you're going to be a rebellious teenager is to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, we're talking about people like this, the most psychotic like people who demand the right to kill the unborn, and they want you to pay for it, and they think it's funny, they think it's cute, they call it healthcare. They want to
Parenthood.
they want your children to be put on puberty blockers and hormones and warped out of their minds. So what else, like how much further left can you take that? If you're going to rebel against that, there's no room over here to go to the left. So Gen Z, Alpha, or Gen, that's what they're called, right? Gen Alpha. If when they rebel against the status quo, it's going to be extremely to the right, to the point where it might even be kind of scary, and they take things too far. So just these people, keep it up, and you're going to see what happens. Give it another 10, 15 years, and you're going to get yours. You just wait. These kids are pissed off, and it's your fault because you want them and their families broke. Anyone who disagrees with you, you want them dead. You want to rob their future, and you think it's funny. But these kids are going to remember that you have names and you have addresses, and you are just people. Well, are you really though?
Yeah,
but you're not immortal. So keep it up. Keep up your shit.
True. And like I've said before, I'm old, but I'm not dead. And as much as they would love to see me dead, and I get it every day, I get messages all the time. I hope you die. I hope you die. I hope you die. They keep on. They keep on. They keep on.
The store's closed.
What?
What is?
The store's closed. Did you close this door?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You closed the door to the break room?
Yeah. Is it locked?
No, it's not locked. I was just I didn't.
It wasn't closed when we came back in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I closed it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because I don't like people being able to look in there.
Thank God, because that's
That really freaks me out.
yeah. Whatever, man. You know, it's cool to have the whole place up to yourself up here, but then a bunch of weird shit happening. But yeah, they love to sit there and they tell me they're going to do this, they're going to do, and they're so mad, they're so angry. What they don't understand though is I have you guys, I have the paratroopers. I'm not the Lone Ranger. And I hope and I pray that if something does happen to me, God forbid, that you guys continue on. Just because I'm gone doesn't mean that there's not work to do. It doesn't mean that you stop. And in fact, if I am gone, you work harder. Pray harder for our country. Pray harder. Stay together. Make connections. Be friends with people. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. We are all in the same boat right now, and it is sinking, folks. We need to work together because the globalists have an agenda and they want to take control of this world and keep control of this world. And it is not theirs to give or take. My life, like I told this witch and I told these vampires and all these other turds, it's not for you to give or take. I answer to the Most High and his Son, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and through them, the Holy Spirit, the Trinity. That is who I serve. They are my liege. I do not ask you for a buy or leave or whatever. I don't go through you. I don't respect you. I don't belong to you. I belong to the Most High. So if you're going to draw and quarter me and eat me, You will try to do what you're going to try, whatever. Succeed or not, it's actually irrelevant. Funny thing, Anthony, you said last night after the show, even if it managed to do it, it's too late. Tell them
Yeah.
what you said.
No, I said, even if you die, even if they kill you, well, it's already too late. They're so ignorant and stupid that they don't even realize it doesn't matter. You killed a vessel, but the idea is out there, and you are way, way too late. So at this point, you're only going after him out of spite, because it really doesn't serve a purpose. And if you were as smart as you think you are, you people, you would give up the pursuit of a man, and you would go after the idea that man has put out there. And you would have done that a long time ago, but it's too late. It's already out there.
Stop it. You can't stop it.
I mean, everyone here is a part of that legacy. There's how many people here watching? Right, 600 something, 680 people. We are all part of that. It goes beyond my uncle here.
Yeah, it's a whole nother, you know.
I mean, I told you that in the truck when it was just me and you. I said, like, you know, no matter what happens, at the end of the day, your message has been put out, and you've already reinforced, and you've already done the most important thing for this community, which was break apart, compartmentalization. And I've already had, you know, I've already talked about that and talked about how bad it was and how much work you've put into it. But like that on its own is already enough to be like, you've done a good part. But then you've also exposed the vampire menace for what they truly are. You've really given a lot of knowledge to all these people, and they can't take that away now. And we have so many hours on YouTube just from live streams, not even counting the rest of the stuff we do, just from live streams of just you spreading knowledge. So, I mean, it's too late, and there's nothing they can do.
We've worked together to build something that's just not going to go away. It's just not.
Yeah, and the message has already been heard by too many people.
Mhm.
It's over. You've lost, and they don't get it.
It's out of our hands now.
Mhm.
If anything, we're just reinforcing it.
We're just the stewards of this. That's it.
Yeah. And I had something I wanted to say, and it kind of slipped my mind. I hate that, but it was, you know, important. It's another thing they do. They try to mess with your mind. That's part of what the vid did, was mess with people's minds. Folks, the whole thing that we've done here with this show is not about me. It's not about them. It's about you. It's about you listening and learning. And I like to think that we got to the bottom of a lot of mysteries, and this show it'll be there, you know. And whatever happens at this point. The message is out there. And there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. There's a lot of shows that are saying a lot of things, and they have this format, whatever. The real, it's the real. We do the live stream. This is not rehearsed. This is not, this is something that you got to understand something, folks. This is not planned. You know, we have it planned to a degree, and I have notes, but it's not, this is live. Okay.
Mhm.
All these other people, they do these shows and it looks perfect because they're able to take takes, and they go back and they edit it and all that. And this started out of necessity for us because we don't have time to do that. We're all workaholics, folks. I'm not even joking. The only time we ever seem to have a respite from work is when we're here.
And even when we do the pre-records, it's been since, I would say, the Armando days that we would go back and re-record stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
at most, we would just stop real quick and have a quick edit.
We need to pray. We need to pray right now.
Okay.
Father, I pray unto you in the name of Christ. I come unto you in the name of Christ, Lord God. I ask that you hear our prayers. May your will be done in all things. In all things, Lord God, may your will be done. Sister Lori Gibbs has come unto us with a prayer request as her sister is passing over, Lord God, please, I beg you in the name of Jesus, please intercede. Please, Christ, intercede with this woman. Please visit her, your omnipotence, holiness. Please touch her heart with just some of your glory, just a bit of your glory. Please show her the way, the truth, the light, and the way, that she is not forgotten, and that you take her into your bosom, Christ. We ask this. We ask this in your name, that it be done. Lord God, I ask that you allow your son, send him to intercede, the heavenly host, the angels. Lord God, please take this woman into your arms. Allow her to enter into the kingdom of Christ with you. Please don't let her slip. Don't let her go without accepting you, Jesus. I beg you, and I ask this in your name. Lord God, I pray in the name of Christ. I ask these things in the name of Christ. Please, Holy Spirit, I ask you to touch this woman, sister, and bring her out of the darkness. Do not allow these demons to take her. Please do not allow this child to slip away. Please take her into your bosom. I ask this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Your will be done in my life and in everything always, Father God. Our lives are for yours to give or take, and that yours alone. By your grace I live, by your grace I leave. Amen. There's that number again. Look at that. They think they're cute.
There are no coincidences.
So our enemies can screenshot and go, look, we told you he was satanic. Yeah, because satanic people pray like that. You pray because you need to pray to help people. It's ridiculous. Pray for this woman, please, guys. I'm begging you. Lori Gibbs is we don't want her sister to slip away. They've already taken enough from us. They've taken enough children of God. They don't deserve this one. If we pray together, it can be done. She can be saved. Lori, you need to get with her. You need to sit with her and say the salvation prayer with her. Take her by the hand and just ask her to say the words with you and to believe. I feel in my heart that it can be done, that she can accept Christ. And I don't care whether people like to hear it or what. I tune out when you talk about the God and the Bible. Good. Tune out. Do what you got to do. And let the rest of us go on and live in the real reality. Because there's demons that literally walk this earth with earthly feet. They fly through the air. They do all kinds of evil, bad, horrible things. And people pretend like it's not happening, like it's not real. Stick your head in the sand. Stick your head in the whatever you want to do. But here, like I will tell you once again, I will say this. This is something that I believe. I'm a follower of Christ. Okay? And I'm going to do what I'm going to do. You don't like it, don't watch, don't listen. If it burns your soul, something's wrong with you. When I pray and I send white light and healing energy to somebody, and you're saying that you feel like you're being burned, and something's wrong because something is on you. And that parasite is not you, but it feels like it's you because it's taken over part of you. You understand? Exactly, Andy. Exactly, Garitano. What's up, Chris Garitano? How you doing, buddy? Thank you, Jesus. Spit the real. That's awesome. And so, in conclusion, we're going to head out because I got to go to work soon, folks. It sucks, but it is what it is. And Tony's got to go to work, and me and Anthony got to go to work. I got to do a patrol, and Anthony's got to do a hotel, and Tony's got to go do a complex where somebody was trying to break into cars the other night. Tony, be safe. Go pray, and everybody. And folks, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for listening. This spiritual realm that we talk about so much, it is a real thing. It absolutely exists, and it permeates all of our being. The reptilians, they got to put a disclaimer on there. It's not real. Well, two guys one of them that reached out to me, his brother's deceased, but it happened to two guys out of Albuquerque. It's real to them. It's definitely real to Donnie. And what happened to Luca? It's real to him. And we're going to tell that story about the werewolf of San Antonio. Why I'm the werewolf of San Antonio. There's been several, but this one scared me because last night I had to go to the restroom, and I was working at the hotel, and the lady there, I don't know, I guess I don't know what she was doing, but she didn't answer the door, so I think she was maybe, taking a little nap or whatever. But that's her business, not mine. And so I just decided I was going to go to our property next door. We have the property next door, and so I had to go to the restroom. And it's a patrol or whatever, and we'd already done the last hits, or Anthony, you did.
Mhm.
So I went over there to use the restroom, and I just, I was thinking, man, about this guy's story, and I was like, what if that happened to me? It's terrifying. But we'll talk about that and some other stuff on Sunday. Sunday's going to be a big day. And now Friday, we have a guest tentatively. I'm not real sure. They haven't gotten back with me. It's an author, I believe. Christopher Macklin or something like that. Y'all looking at me like I'm freaking Frankenstein's monster.
No, something else. I'll tell you.
Oh, okay. Because you're both looking at me like Christopher. I don't want to say his name wrong. It's his agent reached out to me, but he's got an interesting take. It's like UFO abductee and some other weird stuff that's happened to this guy, and he's going to talk about it on the show. Okay, so that's coming up on Friday. Tomorrow, I'm taking the day off from this stuff. I got things I got to do. I got to be out at the ranch. I got to do things. Pray for us. Pray for us that everything goes well and that we can get the ranch up and running and get it moving and get things going, and that our little babies, our animals are okay. Our little cow dogs we got. I'm going to tell you some stuff probably on Friday or Sunday. Maybe I'm going to show you something, the power of God and what it can do. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for everybody that donated and tuned in. We appreciate you helping out, man, and coming out and just being supportive and loving us. We love you. Thank you for the donations. They really help because right now we are going through a money crunch. I'm trying not to have to go and sell my gold to just to make it, but I know we'll make it. I know we'll be out on the other side, and God's going to take care of me, and He's got me. And like I said, even if they were to take me out, that doesn't mean they win. The game is not over. A lot of us are going to cross over before this thing is over with. But in the end, we will prevail. I promise you. And when they come for you, one thing that Luca's dad told him, he said, when they come for us, if they bring communism to this country, he said, don't be afraid. And Luca told me, he's like, I'm not afraid. He's like, I'm a big, mean Polak. Not afraid. And I told him, I said, I believe you. And Donnie, living up there in the middle of nowhere, hiding out. God be with you. Because I know and you know these things are real. And people can mock you and make fun of you all they want, but you see it. And that's what they depend on, is that everybody be silly and think it's a joke. It's not a joke. What a joke are these people, stupid people, that run around and foolishly say that there isn't a God. They're the joke, and the joke's going to be on you. The devil's going to play it on you. So let's pick a couple winners for the giveaway. Where's the banner at? Here we go. So who wants to win tonight? Whose name is in green? If your name is in green, if it's not in green, it's $5. And if you don't win tonight, you could always win Friday, or you could win Sunday. So
there was someone I actually wanted to choose.
I need all the information for the Patreon people so that we can send them their tumblers. So if you haven't joined the Patreon, join the Patreon, folks. I'm telling you.
We're going to start sending out messages for shipping information on Patreon. So y'all just look out for that.
And if you join the $40 or $50 tier right now on the Patreon, you will automatically get a tumbler, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're waiting another week to see who all wants to join. So if you join the Patreon right now on the $40 or $50 tier, you're automatic, and maybe the $30 tier too. Then it gets a little lower, 20 and 10. But if we have enough, we'll do the 10 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But we decided that even if you're on the 20 or the 10, we're still going to send you something because we like you, and we'll send you a hat or a shirt. If we don't send you a tumbler, reach out to us and say, hey guys, you didn't send me a tumbler. If we're out of those, okay, well then I'll send you this. It's a consolation, but hey, these are shirts that you can't get in the store. So
Ruby, the green names mean those are our members. That's how you enter to win the giveaway. And the way you do that is if you go to the subscribe button and you click on it and make sure you subscribe, right next to the bell, you'll see something called join. If you click on that, you should be able to become a member. Another way to do it, if you're on your phone, is if you see right next to the chat box, next to the emoji, there's a flashing dollar sign. If you click on that, it'll give you an option to become a member there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Stanfield says, I want to win. Stanfield,
Yeah, I
have
was
you
gonna
won
say.
before?
He was the first to speak up. And
Have they won before?
I don't.
Well, you don't know if it's a male or female.
they were the
Well-
first to speak
That
up.
doesn't sound better.
I mean, we're not trying to be, that way. We don't know. Stanfield says, yes, I've won. Has Lori won? Surely Lori's gotten something from us.
I think
She's been around
Lori's-
for a while.
Yeah. If Lori gifted a sub to us, to someone, and I think if they want to win something, if you were gifted a sub and you want to win, just say so.
Stanfield says, male. Okay.
Are you sure, Stanfield? Deidre Ramsey, have you won before? Because you're the second person to speak up.
And Lolo, don't worry. If you're a moderator for the show, which is a high honor to do that, and I'm not saying, oh, you're honored to be an. No, I'm just saying, like, for us, we honor our moderators. So if you're a moderator, you got a Tumblr. Don't worry. You send me your information through this giveaway, winners, whatever, and we'll send it out to you. Okay, so you don't worry. Dell says, great show tonight. Thank you, man. Benjamin says he's still waiting on his stuff. When did you win, Benjamin? You need to message me a message and let me know when you won, so I'll know if something happened or whatever. We can go back and find out what's going on.
And if you could, Benjamin, send an email to the giveaways at.
Okay, he says
PRTpodcast.com.
418.
Oh, okay.
That may not. We may not have
We
mailed
haven't
that
sent
yet,
his stuff
because
yet.
we're going every 2 weeks, so that
Mhm.
may not. That's
Well,
no, it hasn't. No.
let's just set a precedent though. If you guys won, I would wait a month after like you won, and if you haven't gotten anything, then I'll go ahead and send another
because
email.
really and truly, 3 to 4 weeks is too long.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
usually about a couple of weeks it will mail.
Yeah, so if it's been about a month since you won, then send another email saying, hey, haven't received anything, just double checking.
So Deidre hasn't won before.
Okay, so DJ, you win.
Perfect.
And who else? Stanfield said he'd already won. Oh, he's Marlo. That's Marlo Martin.
Oh, okay.
What's up,
Oh,
Marlo?
hey.
We're like, oh.
Well, we appreciate your honesty because you changed your name and could have just lied about it and be like, no, I never won before.
So USA of NJ says that they've never won.
Mm.
So what do you think? Give it to them.
Oh yeah. Actually, I think that's who was just given gifted the membership tonight,
Yeah, there you go.
there you
That's who I wanted to win.
Yeah.
There you go. You won.
or Susan. Yeah, that's who it is.
Her name is Susan.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the little S. On
Yeah.
there. I see the
Just like
little S.
stylize it like that.
That's nice.
Yeah. So
That's
you
actually
little S.
clever.
Okay, so we're gonna play out the song again, Nellie's song, and we're gonna bounce. This is it, guys.
supposed
It's
to be
crazy,
like
man.
that
This
tone
song
deaf
is
before.
freaking good, man. I'm telling you. That whole album is gonna be good. I've heard 4 out of the 5 songs that have been made so far. And then there's one that's in Spanish. I don't know really how what she wants to do with that. If you're listening, honey, I like that one too. We've saw so little of each other the last few days. We've been both working.
If you didn't win tonight, don't worry. Everyone in PRT is a winner. Our paratroopers always
That's all
win.
we do is win. We gangsta slap people, and then they're just like back in the day.
Sweet, sweet Alice, step through the looking glass. Step through the looking glass and enter clear but logical. Peculiar, strange. A white rabbit with a clock on a chain. He's late for a very important day. But I must follow, I must know where the white rabbit goes. Skeleton key to open everything. so small, wondering who can fit in there at all. A potion to drink, one sip it'll take. What a mistake. The wonderland cake, another mistake. Alice's tears making a lake too big. The game is rigged. Friend or foe, the caterpillar knows. Smoke rings of wisdom, magic mushrooms in this kingdom, size to control. Alice continues her stroll. A mad-hatted tea party so bizarre, and everything is strange by far, confusing and absurd. The conversation is a blur. Nonsensical riddles like playing a grasshopper as a fiddle. Why is the raven like a rioting desk? I'm sure the answer is somewhere in the middle. It's all in perspective to say what you mean and to mean what you say. Sarcastic is he, definitely the Cheshire cat grinning. Advice on direction with no goals of his own. His persistent grin and philosophical debates. He knew the white rabbit was always gonna be late. The queen of hearts with unfair trials, executions for everyone. All the while she does this all with a frown, not a smile. Angry is she with her unforgivable deeds. 7, 5, 2, what do you do when it's off with your head? You paint the roses red. Who painted the roses red? They'll soon find themselves dead. Now it's off with her head. Alice wakes up in her bed.
So at the beginning, she says Alice stirs or something like that. Somebody said they thought it was Alistair. I don't know. It's not. What she's not talking about Alistair Crowley. But yeah, that's Nellie's song. So guys, I gotta run, man. I gotta work, man. I do gotta work. And pray for me, pray for Anthony, Tony, Nellie, all of us. Let's all pray for each other, right? And don't forget, man, we'll be back. We'll be back Friday. And if we don't have a guest, we'll open up the lines and we'll have a good old time. And I have plenty of information to give you. I can find somebody to come on, or a bunch of people to come on and tell their stories, or I can retell people's encounters. Doesn't matter. The PRT train runs and it runs and it runs. And it may not always run on time, but it runs fine.
It doesn't break down though.
And it doesn't break down. All right, guys. So thank you. God bless you guys. Thank you for everybody who donated. And we'll see you. Good night. Down the rabbit hole.